I will. Okay, okay, we'll call a meeting of the committee of whole, January 27th. Call to order at 9:31 a.m. by opening up the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, connection to the lands, their history, language, and culture. So, good morning, everybody. So we'll move on to item 2.1, approval of the agenda. Okay, we have one amendment. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just note that page 37 accidentally got included in there, and that should actually be in the council package. So 37 can be deleted from the agenda.
Okay. So any other discussion regarding that or any other thing? Okay, seeing none. So Councillor Chamzik has made the motion to,
Mr. Chairman, did you want to add 7.3
right.
RMA Zone 3 discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pembina Zone.
Pembina Zone.
Yeah,
right.
Discussion under 7.3.
Okay.
I think everybody received an email, hopefully, just regarding topics. So we'll discuss that in 7.3. Okay. On that note, on the motion, all in favor? Carried. So we'll move to approval of the minutes. Go ahead, Revon.
Thank you. Just one very small correction on page 8 under councillor updates, the very last sentence. We've got the meeting was reconvened the meeting. If we could just remove the meeting, the meeting, just for clarity's sake.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. So be it. Councillor Dahalik, move the motion to move the amended minutes. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. So from there, we go to 4.1, the delegation. That's not till 11 a.m. Via Zoom. So we'll move on to roundtable discussions. CAO update, page 10 of your agenda. And looking for any discussion, any questions to the CAO? Councillor Hall.
Just wondering if you can give us a timeline on when council will receive a briefing on the Summer Village fire agreements.
Yeah, I can do it immediately. I can do it right now. We've received an email back from the Baptiste Fire Club that they indicate they would like to become a county fire department. So we'll be bringing ahead a report. Chief Shalapai will be doing that, saying here's the action items that are required in order to make that happen. And yeah, it's a bit of work, but they indicated that they would like to join the county.
Thank you for the progress.
That's great news. Guess any other? Read on.
Thank you so much for your report, CAO. I just wanted to also mention thank you as well for organizing the ICS 300, which is another fantastic course that is being taken from administration. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Any others? I got one under intermunicipal ARB discussion with Thornhill County. What is ARB?
ARB is the Assessment Review Board.
Oh.
So we've received notice from our current clerk of the ARB that they're withdrawing their services, they're retiring. So it's a third-party service. We contract out our Assessment Review Board to this party. So Thorhild County has pitched a different service. So we've had discussions with Thorhild County.
Okay, thank you very much. And, okay, everybody's good with thank you for the report, CAO. And from here, we'll move on to Director of Corporate Services. Ms. Emily, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well, thanks. Just checking to see if there's any questions on the report.
Evolve.
Thanks very much. Appreciate this report. Again, these are so great to have, extremely thorough, a lot of information. Just with regards on page 12, we have the human resources, recruitment for the manager of human resources. Is it having any luck any closer to a position being hired there or somebody being hired for that position?
Mr. Chair and members of council, we're currently in negotiations with a candidate. So we're hoping by the end of this week, we'll have an answer.
That's fantastic. Thank you. May I keep going? Okay, thank you. On page 13, under external grants, we have the one for Canada Summer Jobs, which is fantastic, but it mentions support to young adults. So is that 18 plus only, or would that involve students such as, 16 with a driver's license, et cetera?
I believe it involves students under 16 and older.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I think that's, the other one was, I don't know if we're able to share, but the Municipal Sustainability Initiative and Local Government Fiscal Framework, it says submitted applications for projects under these programs. Are we able to share what the projects are that were submitted?
There's portion. Mr. Chair, so there was basically, before we get our money, we have to put in projects. So we had the MSI is old LGFF. So basically, we had, I think it was 200, it's either 230 something or 270 something thousand left. So we put in, I think the Cape Ceiling project, it was over that, but we put in 230 something thousand so we can use up that MSI, because originally they said if you don't use it up, you're going to lose it. So we just put in enough that we can get that MSI funding. And then LGFF, according to our budget, we just put in, I think LGFF for 2025 was like a bridge, and then there was two dump trucks, like the tandem plow truck and another truck for the LGFF. We didn't put in any Canada Community Building Fund for 2025. That money is mostly going to be used in 2026.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So last year we had to extend the deadline on the small business property subclass applications. Can you share with us how we've communicated with ratepayers, advertised that to it, and what we know so far about the enrollment in the program?
I'm sorry, the enrollment currently?
Yeah, how are we advertising it, and how are we making sure people know about it? And then how many, are we having more apply this year than last?
Mr. Chair and members of council, right now, or members of the committee, right now we are advertising via social media and newspaper and the website. I don't know what the enrollment is at this point. Jeff might have an idea. I'm not sure.
If I may, just on page 24 under economic development, it also says that reminder letters about the small business tax subclass to 68 eligible business owners were sent. So that's really beneficial as well there.
Perfect. Any other questions? I got one myself, municipal internship grant. Looks like the grant is just being signed, the agreement. So when would that person possibly start or?
Mr. Chair, members of committee, we had a kickoff meeting, Director of Corporate Services and myself. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, January 27 or January 19. And there's another kickoff meeting February, or a second meeting February 5th. So basically, they're going to be doing municipal affairs is going to be collecting all the resumes, and then for our municipal intern, it's finance stream. So then they're going to open up a portal or send us all the resumes for finance. And from the initial meeting, they said hopefully after that, their goal is that we can hire someone probably by late April, May, because then there's a 3-day training period for these people paid by municipal affairs for the students to go, or the interns to go into Edmonton for 3 days training on the program. So basically the grant, I think they may have said that the grant funding will come as soon as we hire someone, like for the first portion of the grant. So it will probably be like once we do the screening, once we get the resumes, which after February 19th, I think they said they're closing like the competition. And once we get the resumes, and then we'll do our internal process to hire someone. And then I think once we said we got someone hired, then we'll get like funding.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, is there any other questions to administration? Thank you very much for the report. So, seeing none there, we'll move on to Finance Department update, Mr. Daly. And thank you for the report. Any questions, Mr. Daly? Go ahead, Revol.
Thank you. Just curious on page 16, the day-to-day tasks, it says waste and water benefit billing, and I wasn't sure what that meant.
Mr. Chair, members of committee, basically we pay waste and water is on our benefit plan. So we pay for benefits and then we bill back to waste and water for the cost.
That's
of
the
it.
commission.
Yeah. The
Oh,
regional
okay.
Aspen Regional Water Commission and Athabasca Regional Waste Commission.
Thank you for that clarity. Appreciate it. I just noticed as well on page 17, the utilities and the collection process that's happening there. I'm assuming with the truck fill software that's soon to be added, that will really help with those collection processes, or is this mainly to the tap type invoicing, or is it truck fill that's behind? Or do we know?
I would have to clarify, but I would think this is through the tap, like actual accounts
Okay.
that people has with us.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. If I may.
Yep.
Still on page 17, there's 43 of the 91 plus accounts that are less than $10. Will that eventually be going to bad debt?
I would check the policy, but if it's in some cases, if it's depending on the amount, some of it would be written off, but it depends on our policy. But if it's like for when it goes to bad debt, I don't think we would send this to like our collection agency. So some of these may already be in bad debt, but if they're less than $10, in some cases it could be on account for a couple of years. So then we would move it over.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And I think that was pretty much it, except just one quick question on the 9 of the 91 plus are fire related for a total of $40,825.50. Are those fire related invoices being disputed, or they're just not being paid yet? Could be insurance, how that lags behind and that kind of thing. Just curious on that one.
I think that's probably just a timing issue that when we send them out, we just haven't received our funds yet.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Councillor Hall.
So 2 questions. Just can you tell us about how the organization ensures performance reviews for all employees are done and updated in a timely manner? What the process is?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Human Resources actually has a data list of all of the performance evaluations that are due and send out reminders to the respective directors to make sure that all the performance evaluations are completed. So we're still in the process, and just so the committee knows, we're also revamping our performance evaluation forms. So that's under review right now as well.
And then the second one, I think, follows up on a previous comment, just concerning the over 90-day balance. There's still 52 accounts. Can you maybe talk to us about what action is being taken, given the fivefold increase over this time last year in the 90+ day? Because even excluding the 52 accounts, there's still a significant increase year over year. Actually, sorry, these you've, yeah, that's right. While I would also, I guess, had a note to add on the positive side, the overall balance is down significantly.
So in terms of, this would be when we send out our invoices at the end of December. So some of these may actually be paid, like, I mean, we send out all the invoices. So for example, at the end of December, so it could be like a large volume of invoices sent out. So they just haven't been paid, but once we go over like 30 days, technically we can send we have a collection agency, so we would send it, but it depends on the amount because they take a portion. So if it's a small amount, we would have to review if it's worth sending to a collections agency or not. And then for these particular accounts, we would have to go through and see which ones we would send out and which ones then we'd probably move over to. We haven't did our like 2025 process for allowance for doubtful accounts yet. So once we look at like all receivables, some of these might actually move out. They could be bad. They could be sitting there if they're like 91+ days, but they could have been there a year or two. So they would probably moved over for allowance for bad debt. We just don't write them off. We put them in an allowance first. I think it's a policy that we got to bring to council to write off anything that's over a certain amount. So we would first just set up the allowance and then we would write them off. But these accounts will probably be reviewed. We'll review these now during our year-end process before the auditors come. So some of this may remain same, but if there's something there that's, say, way past 91 days, it would most likely be set up. And even when you set up allowance for doubtful accounts or bad debt, they still sit in receivables until they're actually written off. So some of these could have already been bad debt, set up as bad debt, but they're sitting in receivables. Until we actually write them off, they're sitting in receivables because in some rare cases, even though they're a year or 2 years old, a person could come in and actually pay it, even when it's sitting in bad debt. Not sure if that answers your question or.
So just looking at it year over year, it's up almost $200,000 from one year to the next. We know 40 of that is fire related, 430 of it relates to the under $10. So we're still a fair bit of money, an average of $3,700 per account. So the question was really just, at what point do we get on the phone and call them and say, hey, you're at 89 days or you're at 94 days and we need you to get in and pay. So it's more around, do we have adequate controls given the 5 times increase year over year? But I think we'll watch the process.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for that report. And we'll move on to Director Morton, the Infrastructure Services Department update. Come on down. So, thank you for the report. And any questions from the committee regarding?
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Stacey?
I've got a first question. I got several actually, but the first question is the review of the firewood supply. Can you let us know where do you get your firewood? And I'll just give you a quick background of why I'm asking. I've got a couple of ratepayers who want to do some light brushing to widen the road allowance to get their equipment through. And there's substantial trees. And I'm curious, in the brushing program, if you utilize that wood to send to the parks and things like that, or do you access your firewood from an outside source, or what do you do?
Through the chair, it is done through a tender process where it's supplied by a third party. It's bundled, it's done that way. So we historically have not taken trees off road allowances or anything like that and supplied to the campground. Not since I've been here anyway.
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, my next question is, the 3-year road crush gravel supply tender. Can you kind of fill us in as to how that worked out and an update on perhaps numbers or?
So we put out a 3-year tender for the supply and haul of gravel. 2026 originally only identified 2 locations that we were going to haul to. Since that time, we had negotiated cutting some of the volumes from one location so that we could get some down to the Perryville area. So they're currently hauling there. We'll then move to the Island Lake stockpile site that was created. And then the third one will go to Tower Pit across the river. It's right around 2.1 million, I think, for the supplying haul of the material for this year. And it was a 3-year contract. So the subsequent years go down a little bit. So so far it seems to be working well.
And so I guess my other question then would be for CAO Beck. As I sent you an email with a concern, is it appropriate to ask the question how that all worked out in fairness?
Mr. Chairman, if this was the email you sent where there was someone had legal concerns and was threatening a lawsuit, I'd probably like to address council in closed session.
And my last question, I guess it would be for you, is I got some questions in around the coffee shop there. Why is there a D6 cat pushing snow in Rochester?
It was just to get the snow back. From what I heard, we were having concerns that the banks were too high and people couldn't see. But
Oh, this is down by the creek.
oh,
I got some information that we would be hauling some snow from 2 or 3 miles away, dumping it in Rochester closer to the creek to melt there instead of in a drainage ditch. Now that is a touchy issue, as well as CAO Beck and I had discussed here 2 months ago about legal issues pertaining to what state they were in the drainage ditches and stuff like that. And it was brought to my attention from a third party that we're hauling snow from across the highway and dumping it in Rochester. Now, what you're talking about for widening, I appreciate that. I understand that fully. This particular patch has been bladed out on municipal property down by the creek, and it just sits there like a parking lot presently. And I just was curious. No objection, mind you. I just was curious what that is, because they're asking me. So, thank you.
well, through the chair, I will have to look into that one. I'm not aware of that. So I'll ask my staff what's going on there.
Go ahead, Reeve Holland. No, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just going further on page 19, where it mentions that the public works staff are using skid steers and loaders to clear alleyways and hamlets, but ran out of places to put snow. So starting to haul snow out of Colleton, Rochester, Grassland, and Caslin. Are there different dumps closer to each region?
Yeah, we're really just trying to find any place that we can put it. Especially Collington, we pushed what we could, but everything's piled up pretty high now. So
With that little bit of snow we had, hey?
yeah, it wasn't. Seems like we're not used to getting snow anymore.
Right? Yep, absolutely. On page 20, it mentions third bullet point at the top, meetings and information gathering to determine path forward on Rochester and Grassland truck fills. I'm assuming that's Wandering River truck fills, not Rochester.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted
Sorry.
to double check on that one. There's a question I have on the regulatory. It mentions discussions with lands on SML 010042. Are you able to elaborate on what that means to us?
That's. Well, we spoke with Alberta Environment yesterday on two of them, and one was East Heights. And I'm not sure if that's the reference of the SML. The other one was Narrow Lake pit. So those are the two that we're currently working with the province on to get the reclamation plans approved and to get those pits reclaimed and remove the SML and get a reclamation certificate.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. If I may carry on. Reviewed phase 1 reports of Harnaha and Collinton, that's sewage. Thinking waste. Also waste, like landfill waste. Okay. So that's landfill. Thank you. Just a question, mainly for CAO Beck. It was brought to my attention on the GIS, some maps, some information is a little bit conflicting. Is that something we can just send through to yourself and our GIS map lady?
Yep,
who
just
does
send
the-
us a note that something's not adding up and we're happy to look into it.
Okay, yeah, there's just, yeah, it was brought to my attention and I had no idea what they were referring to, so I have to figure out what that means. There is on page 21, under agricultural services, problem wildlife working on predator management. Is that a complaint-based program for predator management?
Yes,
Yes, okay, thank you so much. And other than that.
I
thank you.
believe so.
You believe so? If we could, I was a question that was brought to my attention as well, so it's just, if we could get confirmation on that, that would be great. And other than that, I really appreciate, again, all these reports. Fantastic and very thorough, so it's very beneficial for, I notice the public are getting more and more attention to them, paying more attention to them, so that's absolutely great. So thank you very much for doing that.
Counselor DeHollock.
Yeah, just on your gravel requisitions, do you have any success finding some new gravel or getting close to?
It's through the chair. We haven't really started the process for this year of looking for additional gravel. Kind of working on service levels, stuff of that nature at the moment. But yeah, we will be going down that avenue to try and explore more, but we haven't gotten very far so far this year.
Okay, secondly, at a conference, I think we were at the conference last week and we discussed with some other municipalities, the grader blades. Have you ever considered, we talked to some municipalities that use the carbide blades, and I believe they said they were $700 each. The payback, there's a payback there. We ever considered using carbide blades?
Yeah, we do have some. We use a number of different blade styles at the moment. We're really kind of just trying to see where the best bang for the buck is. So we have a number of different styles of blades that we're using. We just went through a tender, and I think there's 6 different ones that we're trying right now.
Okay, so you are aware of them?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Cheeson.
Just with the different blades combinations that you're using on the graders with the current snow slab issues that you're having with the dry snow, what are the blade combinations that you're trying?
Well, some of them are carbide. I'm not sure what it actually says in here, the brand name, but I don't know if you've seen the ones that they basically have holes all cut through them. Blue something or other. We're using those up at Wandering River right now. That grader operator really likes it. Some of them are just smooth edges, some are Sandvik. It's really trying to find what blade combination works with what moisture and stuff in the snow. Some actually make it icier on you, right? If you're using it repeatedly. So really, we're just trying to figure out, what's the most cost effective, which ones last the longest, which ones give us the best product. And to be honest, that it kind of changes in between operators. So, one might not like a certain blade and the next one loves it. So it's not as cut and dry as you'd think, but definitely from an administrative perspective, we are always trying to figure out a way to find a cheaper solution and still get the same product, because quite frankly, the blades they've really taken a significant increase in costs in the last 3-5 years.
So with the complaints, with the rough road complaints, and my division is no different than any other division, but the complaints and concerns that I've heard is that basically the grader operators are going too fast, trying to get as much snow off, and then once it starts rocking on them, they should just stop and back up and readjust and correct that ASAP, which they feel that's not happening. So just some concerns that maybe our grader operators need to just slow down and correct it. They know when it's happening with those rough conditions. I don't know even who my grader operator is in Division 3, or Area 8. But anyways, that's a big concern. And angling blades, they're just saying with the county spending money trying different blades, a lot of this could be probably saved with just taking our time and redoing it. So I'm just putting it out there.
It's through the chair. We have a lot of professional grader operators out there. I know everybody wants you to slow down after the snow's been open, or the roads have been opened up. But, during December, it was just one event after another, and the guys were keeping the roads open. Was there a fair amount of snow left behind? Absolutely. And does it turn into, mini washboard and get rough? Yes, it does. The roads are open. They're travelable. I know that the expectation is that every time the grader goes down the road, it'll be perfect. It's not reality when we're trying to open roads. They come back and they do a better job the second pass. We're aware of the concerns, and our priority was to get the roads open. So that's kind of it'll get better now that it's open. So
the issue with the chop is also can be actually for the mini washboard can be just move over a half a tire length, please, instead of going like sheep down the road. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They don't want to move out of them driving ruts, and that's where you get the washboard from, is with a little bit of the excess snow left in that driving ruts. Just move over a bit, just to help everybody out every once in a while. It's and I know that would help a lot too. So just for a little help there.
I just know some of the areas we almost lose a tractor and bale wagons because it's so rough, right? So, and we're already going slow. So
Yeah, gotcha. So
but we do understand with all the snow that it is an issue. So thank you for that.
they'll get better. The second pass, they'll do a much better job.
Well, and weather's changing too, so. And we have weather changing, so that's always a different issue too. So thank you.
we'll go to Reeve Holland first, and then
And I just wanted to mention, it's one of those situations where, and I don't mean to curse, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And we really need to put it out there how absolutely hard working the operators are, and the job that they have been doing. And I've noticed the change as well with the weather and the second pass and all of those types of things and how much it has improved. So we also need to send out a huge thank you for the hours and the days and without days off, bringing in spares. It's all in the report as well. How much we really do appreciate that. I know there are complaints, but it's also sometimes a little bit of education and a little bit of misunderstanding may be involved there as well. And administration's taken on a ton of complaints. We've taken on a ton of complaints. But at the end of the day, the job that was done, as far as I'm concerned, with the conditions that we face has been awesome, and I'm very appreciative and want to make sure that the operators understand how much we do appreciate the job that they've done and the efforts administration has done to try and keep up with it all as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Counselor DeHollick.
Yeah, a couple
Oh.
of things. Thank you, Councillor Holland. I think that we should give them special recognition for the work they've done over the holiday season. It was excellent and they worked hard. I just want to talk about, this might be a closed session, the Wandering River grader contract.
That would be a closed session.
That'll be a closed session. Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Stasiak.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate some of the comments that were made here, and I really appreciate that. But I have noticed that when the graders go by, they try and leave just a little bit to retain the gravel that's on the road. And that's very important to me, especially. And so I've noticed that traffic itself is what creates the washboard by bouncing on that little skiff of snow. But you're correct when you say that the second pass tidies that up. And so I don't know if there's anything that we can add or say or do it a different way that would achieve a different result. I think that what's going on right now is sort of an inevitable process, and I think we're on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Counselor Hall.
Three things briefly. Thank you, Director, for the report. At the page 18 of your report, you talk about new road data on a new approval process. So I'm just wondering, will that improve service levels, or is there a problem you're trying to solve by moving to a new permit approval process?
Through the chair, I think it'll be a more efficient process. So it's really only associated with oil and gas. So it'll be approaches, pipeline crossings, new well site and accesses, proximity agreements, thing of those nature. You know, those applications will go through into road data, and they'll collect the fee that we established last year with the policy. And then they'll forward some of the stuff has standard conditions. Those standard conditions will be applied and they'll get their approvals very quickly. Some of them still require us to do an inspection. So more than anything, I think it's maybe going to make a more efficient system, but also it'll store all of the data associated with those developments in one location. So once the well site is approved, everything, the road use agreements, anything else tethered to that well site, all that information and data will be collected and stored in one location, and so that, and it's all tied together. That's kind of where I see the advantage. And you know, basically the permit fee pays road data's cost. So it reduces the revenue we get back a little bit, but we're still making more on the application fee than what we're paying road data. So
there's a business improvement there.
Yeah.
Second thing was, I appreciate the publication of the grader maps. And I guess, I don't know if it's I guess it's a question, and that is, do you think it'd be more user-friendly, both for residents and council, if we publish them by maybe electoral division instead of by grader district? Because I know for me, I don't find it particularly useful to know if it was, you know, which operator was there. I want to look at a section of the county and know how many of the roads in that section were completed. And I think it's counterproductive to have to find, 2 or 3 different maps to figure out if that area might have been done. And also, I guess I have a concern about the ability of exposing the individual work of every person. To me, the map publication is about showing what is being done, not who's doing it.
Through the chair, I guess we can look at that. The reason we do it the way we do it is it's kind of how the database works when you're searching. So we search by unit number for the grader, which, is only tied to that greater beat area. So, we can search more than one, but it gets kind of convoluted. And also from a financial tracking and billing and everything is set up to be per grader beat. I'm not, we can definitely look into it, what it would
think
look
about
like.
how the questions that I get.
Yeah.
It's about when was my road last done? And in most of the folks calling me live in Division 4. I'm looking at 3 different maps trying to find out, was that road done or was that road not done? That's why I asked.
I understand from that, when you have multiple grader beats in one of your electoral divisions, you got to figure out which grader beat it was. For us, we're just searching the road. We already have the map that says which grader it is, right? And so
I can understand why different users would want different.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, we can see if we can come up with something different that would maybe achieve what we both need. So I'll look into it.
And then you've reported that there's a structural geotechnical report on the Wandering River Fire Hall has been submitted. And I think, we've heard about issues or rumors of issues there for years. And I'm just wondering if you can give us a timeline on when council would receive a briefing on the outcome of that analysis.
Through the chair, I'll chat
Or if it's
with-
appropriate for us to receive that, I guess is the other question.
Yeah, both of those I'd have to look into and see when Jamie would be available and discuss whether it's appropriate. So we'll get back to you with an answer on that.
Go ahead, Councillor Pollock.
Yeah, the graders, in my area, I think I've got three different graders in my area, so, the mapping, I don't know, I think it's fine the way it is, but I could see what you're saying too. But anyways, road use agreements, how are those going? I've got reports of rocks on the pavement again. Heavy load rock loads. Do you know if they have a road use agreement or they should?
Sorry, through the chair, I'm not sure.
So how about a log truck? How about a log truck that's loaded?
Yeah.
They require a road use agreement?
Yeah. So through the chair, they would get an annual road use agreement for log haul from us.
Would they specify the roads?
It would, yes, it should, yes. But it doesn't necessarily cover off road gravel being stuck in tires and tracked out onto pavement. If they're doing excessive tracking of mud out onto pavement and making an unsafe situation, then that would be covered. I'm not sure how else to
So
answer.
how about the ruts in the road and stuff?
So on a gravel road?
It's on a gravel road, yeah.
So, typically we can either have them repair the damage or we can repair the damage and bill them. But in the winter, like, are we talking summer or winter? Or
Both.
Okay. So yeah, we require that they do greater maintenance and so on as well. But basically, we would need to know about the concern, and then we can deal with it from that
So-
perspective.
So for example, I'm just using the Pluana connector as for an example. If three companies have a road use agreement on that road, okay, would they require a grader on that road when the road is impassable? Who fixes it? We've always been fixing it.
Yeah, the Plumontic connector is a little different animal, is that there could be 10 companies that have road use agreements on there. And how are you gonna go after one, right? Like it's kind of an anomaly to itself. Like everybody's using that road for a cut across. So yeah, it usually falls on us because it's pretty hard to pinpoint who's doing the damage. And in most cases, it's probably people who don't have road use is what I'm gonna tell you. There's a lot of people using that to avoid scales and to use it as a cut across even when empty. Those people don't have road use agreements. And so, it would be highly unfair to go after the guys with road use agreements when, they know they're not supposed to be on there when it's raining. They're doing their best to adhere to their road use agreement conditions, where the other users that have no permits do whatever they want. So,
Thank you.
Just wait, Counselor Reeve Holland.
Thank you. And just additional to that conversation, I suppose it's extremely difficult to even monitor or enforce any type of misuse of that road. So how would we know who's got the road use agreement and how would we know that they're don't have the road use agreement? Like, is there any way to monitor that?
through the chair, the only way to know is if you stop them, right? We know who has road use agreements on that road.
But I mean, the vehicle itself, like, is there a way to, I don't mean to interrupt, but is there a way to put in the window, of the vehicle that says, we have a permit type to be here? So that, if somebody doesn't, we're able to stop them and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Because the residents are paying quite a bit to maintain that particular road for the abuse that it takes. And so, when do we start restricting that? When do we start looking at a different method to say, you're not supposed to be here? You're supposed to be taking the right way around. I'm just curious.
Mr. Chairman, on the topic of infrastructure protection, we could spend a whole day on it.
Yeah.
So I get it, but we probably need to put it on as a separate item and talk about it. And if it takes all day, it takes all day. I've been through it before. It involves our peace officers, who I believe need to be certified in weights and measures. There's a whole lot of things that go into it. We're not going to get through it today.
No,
Just so you know.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Just was curious. In other areas, you see the permitted in the windows, and I think that, it might be helpful, but for another day. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, since you opened it though, so this is one of the few counties anywhere that doesn't have a regular spring road ban. I'll just point out that, and for all roads, and as a consequence, you end up with the consequence of it. So since you opened the door, I'll just say that.
Just to rebut on that one, we do kind of have a road ban system. We used to work by banning certain roads, paved roads, hard surface roads, stuff like that. Pomona Connector might even fall into that area, and hopefully it does now. But the biggest thing is we always went by respect of the road system by people using our road systems, and we didn't want to ban the roads just a blanket ban due to the fact then we caught heck from all the big farmers now, because now they have to phone in every time they want to haul a load of grain. And everybody seemed to want to haul a load of grain in March, April, and when it started loosening up. So March, April, May. So that was kind of the reason. And that, but yeah, we can, I think through the road ban system, we can help out the Pomona connector a little bit. And it's tough to monitor that road. It is very tough. Councillor Hall.
So on that topic, does administration not feel they have do you have the tools in place to protect the roads through appropriate bylaws and policies to institute road bans when you believe it's appropriate? Like, it's fine to say we haven't done it. Do you have the tools to look after things going forward, or do we need to make changes?
I guess through the chair, we have the tools at our disposal. You know, the utilization of some of those tools has political outfall sometimes that we're trying to juggle. So the tools exist where they're obtainable, but sometimes, you know, we're trying to deal with different perspectives, I guess. So when we banned the Plamondon connector this year already, when it was in poor condition, I can ban the road whenever we feel that it's warranted. You know, it kind of comes down to what council's perspective is on public roadways, right? So anyway, as CAO Beck has indicated, we could go on and on about how we manage our road systems and road bans, but it's probably a much bigger discussion than you want to cover today.
long drawn out conversation, which is a good conversation. Councillor Stacey.
Thank you. If we're done discussing that part of it, I just got a question about the windrows in the driveways. Is that pertinent to people pushing their snow across the driveway?
We've through the chair, sorry, we've seen a lot of that this year, and we've had our CPOs go out and have discussions about pushing the snow across the road. You know, some of the windrows that I've seen concerns about where the guys are lifting their wing and they're trying to empty the snow off of it before they drag across. They do a pretty good job doing that. You know, unfortunately, sometimes when somebody's just plowed their driveway and then the grader comes along winging, you know, you're going to get a couple inches there and people aren't happy about it. But yeah, they're doing the best that they can.
I agree. I don't have a problem with them trying their best to do that, but I do have complaints and concerns, personal actually as well, that some of these people wait for the grader to go by and then they take their little bobcat and they scrape across the drive or across the road and leave some spillage, some ruts and stuff like that. I'm just curious if I read someplace in my agenda packages that we were going to be discussing that, and I can't remember if it was in general council meeting or in committee of the whole, but is there anything in place that's going to be addressing that in the future? Or I've just been talking to my ratepayers and explaining to them very politely that one of these days there's going to be some repercussions here unless you smoothen it out. You have the facilities, you have the equipment there to backblade it after you're done scraping. Please do it, and don't just leave me a rough road to bounce over and everybody else, because it is dangerous for sure.
Through the chair, like I suggested, we have had the CPOs go and try and educate people on some of that. It's a significant liability for the individual. But even beyond that, you know, pushing it over and then that bank on the other side, you know, gets frozen and we're coming along with a wing on the grader, you know, it can push the grader right over into the lane. So you got something you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we're doing it, we've done some education online and on our website and Facebook. And like Director Morton said, the CBOs have been out a large number of times to have conversations and educate folks.
Mullen?
Thank you. It is mentioned in our report here under Director Wilkinson's report on enforcement services that the CPOs are supporting infrastructure services with response to improper snow removal concerns, and that's on page 23. So thank you for that.
Okay, we beat up on you pretty good. I do have a few questions, but, okay, Councillor Gallo.
I just have a question regarding the bridge repair on Township Road 682. The tentative start date was for yesterday. I'm just wondering if your crew is able to get out there and start on it, and if not, when do you foresee that beginning?
Through the chair, I was aware that they were supposed to start that bridge repair yesterday. I'm not sure if they got there or not, but we can find out. That's our bridge contractor, Bridgman Services. But I can find out if they got started yesterday, and if not, when their new tentative date is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and a couple questions for me. I'm sorry, but gravel crushing, are we gonna be doing any gravel crushing this year?
So through the chair, plan is to crush at Berg, but that will have to be a standalone item that comes back to council later this summer or late spring for budget discussion, because it's not included in the current budget.
Okay, and then the Island Lake stockpile site, is there any thought of putting something on that floor before we put the crushed gravel material on top of it? Just due to the fact that
It's new.
it's going to swallow up some serious amount of gravel.
Yeah, we did our best to pack it and get it ready for the stockpile site. But as any new site, it will eat some gravel for sure. So no, we don't have any plans to put anything else down first.
So we got extra gravel coming in there due to the fact that the gravel is gonna go down into the floor.
It'll still be there. We can go down and get it. But it's gonna be there for years, right? So, I mean, we know we're gonna lose some on the first round or two. But we can get a percentage of that back too by going down when we reclaim, but yeah, there will be some loss.
Yeah. So. Okay, graders. Have we ordered any graders yet?
We have not ordered them as of yet, but they will be shortly.
Okay, and have we changed the specs on the years and the warranty time?
So, yeah, we've gone to a 7-year, 10,000-hour warranty, if that's the question.
Is that cost effective? Ever did see a
Yeah, you haven't seen the
Athabasca
20-year.
County worked very hard for many, many years to get our graders to a 5-year 7,500 to 8,000 hour grader. And now all of a sudden we're changing to a 7-year 10,000 without any, I guess what I'm looking at, without any input from council. This was just done by administration, and I would like to have had like a look at some numbers to, because the cost of warranty. Is there a buyback? Is there all this stuff that, because in 7 years, we're not going to be in these seats possibly, and the next counselors are going to have to answer to it.
Okay, so I guess if there wants to be a discussion on that, I can chat with the CAO. It was done because quite frankly, the cost of graders and the amount of capital money that we have annually to replace that equipment kind of dictated we had to go to a 7-year. So if council wants to discuss that further, I'm sure we can have that discussion.
I would just like to see some numbers of the the logic behind it. Because for the last 35 plus years, it's been working well. Other than that, sometimes the hours would come up on the graders and then they'd come off a warranty. But other than that, it just when I get asked, even by the ratepayers, what's going on, and I stand there and say, well, I don't know, because we never talked about it. What are you doing? you know, that's what I'm looking at, right? I think it'd be a good conversation to have, just so we as counselors could, if we get asked that, why did this change?
We would all love to be able to do 5 years, 7,000 hour warranty.
Yeah.
That's the way we all did it for a number of years.
Yeah.
And graders cost 130,000. Now they're 730,000.
Yeah.
So we've been forced to look at things differently.
Yeah.
But we can definitely have the conversation.
Okay, perfect. Oh, vandalism concerns at the water, page 20, regarding the coin operation. I know they had trouble down here in town too, and stuff like that. So with this new system that we're looking at, is that tied into the coin operation at all, or is that still not that's still got to go with the coin?
Well, the coin system will go away. So it would, when we get to that situation where we're switching over, it'll be swipe card only, credit card or debit. So there will be no coin.
There'll be no
So
coin.
they can vandalize it, but they're not going to get any cash.
No, but we'll still be able to fill up 5-gallon jugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that sounds good. That's very positive on that end. And the same page, reviewed limited subsurface investigation reports for Manook and Crooked Lake. Manook setback and removed based on report. What is that?
Sorry, where
The last bullet point on reviewed limited subsurf investigation reports for Manook and Crooked Lake,
20?
page 20.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the old landfills that we
Oh.
were having some.
Oh, okay. Right on. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's speaking to the McLaren report that we were cleaning up.
Just quick, going back to the, I know we're all highly anticipating, pretty excited about the change in the truck fills as regards to the software that's going to be used. Is there an ETA on when that installation will happen? Or is it just still in progress?
Still in progress.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm done with my questions. Oh,
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. Yet I would like to probably see some type of a spreadsheet or whatever on the difference between 7 and 10.
okay. Sounds good. Okay, we want to thank you very much for your report, Director. I know we talk to you mostly at this committee and that, because it is what we do best, graders and gravel. So we'll move on to the Director of Community and Protective Services. What I would really like though is about at least by 10:45 to be shutting down for a break before we go into the delegation for sure. So that's just a heads up. I'll be putting the hammer down. So don't be so hard on the director. Okay, so any questions for Director Wilkinson? We might be going on a break early. So Revolve.
I don't mind starting. Thank you again, as mentioned, how valuable these reports are. Just, I have a few questions. I'll start on page 23. The notable files, it mentions progress has been made towards attainment of pound services. So that's not county-owned pound services, that would be contracted pound services?
That is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Had a question on that one. The next page, page 24, working to improve cellular connectivity and mobile data in patrol vehicles. Is that through boosters or how is that being done?
We've just been working on a couple of different initiatives to try and improve that for those patrol vehicles.
Right, but it's through, because of course, we all know how bad our cell service is in our area. So just curious what methods would be used.
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Going down into the economic development portion on page 24 for the Northeast Alberta EV Charging Network Steering Committee meetings, still working on site selections and increasing stakeholder numbers. And I understand that's, you know, all the way through that corridor of the northeastern side. We've seen Wandering River, I believe, with Tesla charging stations. I wasn't sure if they were operational yet, or do we know if they're up and running?
I'm not sure if they're up and running yet.
Grassland is for sure. Yeah, I was going to mention Grassland has theirs. Go ahead.
Grassland, from what I see, has just recently moved to a phase 3 system instead of phase 2 that was a test.
I was going to mention that as well on my report, so thank you for that, because you know, I think it's a great initiative, but I'm happy to see that there are contract type individuals that are taking this on and that our county is being well utilized for EV charging. So that's just a notable item there. Just trying to go through and look at some of the questions that I had. Oh, the microsite. So on page 25, we were talking about continuing to attend the Athabasca Boyle Chambers of Commerce meetings. There's working with the Alberta Hub on site selector project for land and buildings with showcases available properties for available properties and a member community profile. And so these types of things. So I was just curious, is our microsite operational, working, available, other, you know, and how do we get that out to our residents?
Well, when you go on our website and you click on ECDev, it goes right to the microsite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. Did I do a deep dive on that? All right, awesome. And just a really happy note on page 25 under FCSS, I noticed that the Athabasca Oilmen's Association, for the third year in a row, the Athabasca Oilmen's provided FCSS with 10 $100 grocery cards for families in need. And I think that that's extremely awesome. And we need to really appreciate and note that for everyone, that how our community comes together for people. So thank you very much. And I appreciate your report again. Well done with a lot of great information. Oh, one more, sorry. Page 27, new dwellings. There was one mentioned for 2025. Are we able to get a year to date on new dwellings in the county for 2025?
Yes, we
Awesome.
can do that.
That would be great. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Couple of questions. Page 23, notable files, ongoing work on complex unsightly construction waste file. Does that refer to general unsightly premises within the hamlets and things like that? As you know, I'm trying to deal with one presently, and I don't know whether we have big enough teeth for that project or not, or what.
It's an ongoing So that particular one isn't necessarily in a hamlet, but it's one that we've been dealing with for a while. And then just in general, we do have a couple of other files on the go as well.
And do we have enough enforcement there, or do we need to upgrade our bylaw to capture the magnitude of what's happening there?
So community standards bylaw is one that we currently have under review. And council will see that one, I would think, in the next few months at this committee level for review.
Great, thank you. Two other questions. I see you're advertising for a part-time bylaw officer. Has something happened there?
So that's a summer position. So when we cut the third position from the budget, from the 2026 budget, we retained enough funds for a summer bylaw position to help with bylaw over those busier summer months when we've got an influx of recreational property owners and campground users as well.
Okay, and I'm also assuming then the inventory clerk for the fire services department would be the similar thing where it's.
So that one we actually got a grant for.
Okay.
And so that's going to be a 2-year position, I believe. And so we presented that to council, and council approved the sort of matching top up so that we could make that into a Fire Smart 2-year position.
Great. Follow that one. Great, thank you.
Very good. Anybody else with questions or comments or? Councillor Hall?
Good morning. A couple of different questions, I guess. Can you just share with us, at the beginning of your report, you talk about staff continuing to receive a number of complaints. Where do the complaints originate from? Like, is it 1 or 2 prolific individuals, or is it sort of this widespread community feeding stuff into?
I think there's always some frequent flyers, but in general, when people have concerns about, in particular land use bylaw contraventions, they submit them. Lots of times it's conversations that start with our development officers or our admin assistant. Sometimes it's with our bylaw folks. And also we have reported concern on our website that those complaints come through too as well.
Okay. Then the other questions I had related to the development permit approval process, and just do you track the average number of days development permit approvals take, and or even the processing times for the subdivision and development approvals?
Yes, those dates are all tracked very closely because we have a finite number of days to make decisions and deem applications complete as per the Municipal Government Act. And so we have spreadsheets, or we have tools that we track those dates very closely. And I mean, for committee's information, so a development permit, we have 20 days to deem complete, and we have 40 days to make a decision. And subdivisions, we have 20 days to deem complete. We have 60 days to make a decision. That being said, we can ask the applicant for extensions to those dates, but those dates are really important. And we've learned through, the appeal process that those dates are finite.
So one of the things we keep hearing around economic development is, our ability to turn around the speed of permits matters. It makes us more business and development friendly. And so I guess for me, it's in the future, maybe we'll be asking about if we can start seeing, are we making improvements in that, or what's our average? And can we, as we get into level of service discussions, talk about what's the timeline that we want to find?
I think the committee has to also remember that we have one municipal planning commission meeting a month. And so that potentially slows certain decisions down as well.
Can appreciate that might be red tape. The other last question relates to the pound and the dogs. So, I mean, I guess it's a 2-part question. Are you able to tell us kind of what area, not like what address, but what area of the county we have the aggressive dog problem in? Is this one of the ones we've seen in the past, or is it a new aggressive dog? And then the last one on the pound services, was that in the budget or is that something we're gonna have to make amendments for?
I'll answer your second question first. Yes, it's in the budget. It was in the budget. In the 2026 approved interim budget. As far as aggressive dogs go, I don't know that we could identify a certain area of the county.
This particular one is.
Oh, this
yeah,
particular
is
one.
this a repeat offender or is it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Reeve Holland.
Sorry, just a quick note, with regards to the MPC only having one meeting per month. If we are looking at also improving the turnaround for permits and whatnot, there's nothing stopping us from having a special meeting to make sure that that helps to expedite those types of things. And I know you want to have a break real quick, so I just also want to give a shout out on the Athabasca Regional Tourism website. There's a lot of good information there, and you're also able to add events and whatnot onto that calendar. So I don't know if the new counselors know about it. It is kind of sort of mentioned in here, and these are the stats starting on page 30 and carrying on. That is the Athabasca Regional Tourism website. So I really encourage you to go and check it out. It does cover the Village of Boyle, the town of Athabasca and the county. So it's a really good website for people to know about and for the public to also access. So thank you again for your report.
Thank you very much. Seeing no more questions, we're gonna take a break until about 10:58. And then we'll get back at her. Okay, thank you very much. I think we're gonna fire back up here again. Our delegation is waiting online there. So first off, this is gonna be held in close. We're gonna need a closed session motion. Reeve Holland has made a motion to go into closed. All in favor? Motion carried. We are into closed. Okay, we'll reconvene our meeting at 12:49. Should have, but so we're done with the department updates. So now we'll move to the counselor updates. And not to pick on anybody, but how would Reeve Holland like to go first?
That'd be great. Yeah, no, thank you, especially since I had forgotten my last report at home. I actually remembered it this time, so it's a little bit longer with a few extra months on it, but I'll just run real quick through it. October finished out, of course, with our department orientation at the county. November, we had the elected official mandatory orientation. I attended the CanAfric social function at the town office, gave a Remembrance Day service speech here at the multiplex. November 17th to 20th, we attended the RMA. I took in the EOEP course, council's role in the employment of the CAO, and along with, of course, the daily conference events and meetings. I attended the breakout sessions. One was working well together, fostering positive council and admin relationships. And the other was ready, responsive, resilient council's role in emergency management. And I would also like to extend a huge thank you to CAO for organizing a team building supper that most of us were able to attend. It was an absolute blast. We had a lot of laughter. My belly hurt by the time I left there, so that was excellent. It was a great evening. I also attended in November the District 7 Rochester Fire Department Awards, which was amazing. It was first class and well done. They really need to be commended on the event that they put together. And of course, all of the awards that were given, it's pretty amazing. December, I attended the Alpac Bridge announcement and part of that media release there. I gave the county Christmas party greetings. I also attended the Mayor and Reeves breakfast. I participated in the lessons and carols readings, as well as the emergency management mandatory training for elected officials. In January so far, the Pembina District 3 meeting took place a couple of weeks ago now already, and also just attended the Northeast Alberta Alliance Growth and Opportunity meeting in Vegreville. And so besides our regular council meetings and our MPC meetings, I've been busy with committee work. and reports for the Athabasca Landing Trail Steering Committee, Community Transportation, and of course, we also are working with the Intermunicipal Committee. Budget has been a big part of the past few months, as have been trying to keep up with updating emails, several emails. I have a few I need to respond to from last week that I'm behind on, so I apologize. And last but not least, resident concerns and compliments. There have been, I would say, an equal amount of both, mainly regarding roads, and more roads. So I would like to extend again, we already did this morning, but many thanks to the Public Works crews for their dedication and the many long hours getting us through all these snowfalls that we've experienced. It's been greatly appreciated, all the effort that's been put in.
Awesome. Any questions? Okay. Councillor Stasiak. It's just a brief update. If you want to give a brief update of what.
I have nothing to report then, I don't think. Do I?
It's up to you.
No.
Okay, Councillor Calhoun.
So I did mine a little different, just with some happenings going on in Division 9. February 16th, which I believe is Family Day, is bingo at Richmond Park Hall at 2 p.m. if anyone wants to come with their bingo dabbers. The Cornhole Winter League at the Agriplex is going on for 8 weeks. I don't recall the end day, but if you're interested, go check that out. There's also a PAL course coming up February 18th, but they're taking registrations now. So if you go to the Athabasca District Egg Society page, you can register there. And last but not least, as of Sunday, SCARS has an intake of 261 cats and kittens in their care. They do need help with not only adoptions, but like with donations of either items or cash. So if you visit their webpage or their Facebook page, you can sort of see their needs there. If you're able to contribute anyway, it would be very much appreciated.
251 cats?
261
cats.
Cats.
Nice. Thank you. Councillor Hall.
I'm happy to report I don't need any cats in my yard. Unfortunately for SCARS. So as usual, I mean, I think the balance of the reports for me will come in writing from the committees, but you know, at this time of year, all of the committees that I'm connected to, I feel like are working to focus on their budgets and to be to keep testing the limits of what we're spending and how to be more looking for places to save or grow revenue or do both. And like everybody had received, you know, a number of phone calls regarding road conditions, but believe that all of those were satisfactorily resolved by administration and everybody gets carbon copies on that stuff. We should, Greater North Foundation meeting is coming up next week, and we should get the first look at potential requisitions for the next year. And I don't expect much to change. What I do know is that, as usual, we expect to come in a little under budget, and that's a testament to the way the organization runs. And and that's relevant because the requisitions are done kind of a year backwards, not a year forward. So you do your current year budget, work through that, but you actually requisition based on the prior year. And so that, I think, will be good news.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
As for committees and council, many committees, important work being done, budget policies and trainings. We just arrived back from the ASBPC conference. It was 3 days of learning, understanding roles, partnerships, and governance for all agricultural service boards. 6 members and 1 staff attended. Next year, we will be part of the hosting region. My report will be coming soon in the community. Residents are really happy to have the reprieve of the snow and roadways clear. Excited for the Athabasca County Farm Women's Conference coming up next week. In council, we have strat planning, RMA collaboration with other municipalities coming up. In the community, grassland soup for seniors on February 20th at noon, and March 20th in Grassland would be the Grassland Agricultural Society's Ag Trade Fair from 10 to 3. Also Atmore Crib Tournament coming up on March 14th. And then just once again to say thanks to Public Works for the roadways being clear and the hard work being done.
Perfect.
It's not fair when we attend the same things and she talks about it.
She does a report.
Right. She's good at the report, so it's okay. Okay, so February 5th, we have the Rural Women's Conference. To date, we have about 90 tickets that are sold. We're hoping for 150. It'd be nice to have 200, so we're trying to do the last raw. The tickets are sales end Friday for the caterer's sake, so hopefully we get our 150. So one of the big topics this year was chickens. So chickens were really, really hot, and poor Jen had a hard time trying to find somebody to come in and talk about chickens. And it was kind of funny because the town apparently has a bylaw where you're allowed to have chickens. So that was a whole conversation as well. But we did finally secure a lady from the U of A that's going to be coming and talking about chickens. So that's good and exciting. We did have some problems with our MC because Colin Durko was previously got another commitment, so he couldn't save our butts. But everybody's going to be blessed with me being the MC and Candy Holdis as my co-partner. So we have good stuff planned. They may want us to do it every year. So anyways, we're looking forward to that and working hard on that to make sure that's a success. I know the Boyle Chamber, I've been involved with the Boyle Chamber for quite a while, so I know it's not part of my duties, but the small community, we have a really good little Boyle Chamber is very active. And we do have the Road Hammers coming, so we've got that booked. I'd give you the date, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So so that's coming. Regional Healthcare Attraction and Retention. I kind of really enjoy that committee, but unfortunately, I've only been to one meeting so far. But the good thing about some of the information is the practitioner nurse, is that how I'm properly saying, which we do have one coming into our community in March. So the cool thing was when we were at the ASB conference last week, they kind of got the same system going on with the vets. So we have a practitioner vet tech, I believe is what it's called. So they can do some of the stuff that the vets, can give to them. So one of them was preg testing, but it's preg testing with ultrasound, not the actual preg testing. And they can do a lot of the things as long as the vet's there. So so that's going to help with streamlining that shortage that we have out there in rural Alberta. So that was kind of cool. So yes, I did attend with Ken, Jack, and Kelly. We had some really good talkers. There's some really good information, some good networking. One of the talkers that I really was impressed with, and I guess because it resonates with what we do here in the community, me personally, is the cow-calf operation. So we had Miles Wolk from Bull Valent speak. And Miles he's been a big part of Alberta Beef, the Cattlemen's Commission. I mean, he's just been a big part, and his wife is a vet, and she has been very active in that as well. But some of his predictions was good to hear. So he's talking about our cattle prices staying until about the 2030, and depending on what happens with politics and all that good stuff, it's looking good for it to continue. So we do have a big shortage here in Alberta, Canada. So our heifers, they've retained a pile of heifers this year, but he says the prices are coming up. So those heifers will probably hit the market again, and we'll be again short, or still short of replenishing that cow herd. Interesting too, most of our Alberta beef goes south of the border, and we buy a lot of beef to feed currently mouse in Canada. So he had some really good information. So I really did it. I got lots of other stuff too, but that one just kind of hit home, right? So it was exciting. I just wanted to let you know that I did attend Stan Delorme's fundraiser on Saturday. Of course, he's not doing very well. The past chairman there of the Métis settlement, Buffalo Lake. So he is on the wait list for a kidney. So they have a lot of traveling expenses. So the community really did a great job of having a great fundraiser for him. So they raised over 38,000 for him. So, and it was really good. It took you, supper started at 4, I think it was 8 o'clock by the time they fed everybody, and they had enough food. So, and the bannock was always good. Oh, and the Roadhammers are July 11th in Boyle. So thank you, Kelly. So I have to say the meetings and being a part of the community has been really, really good. And of course, a big learning experience. So I look forward to the rest of the year and the rest of council and admin. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. Dahalik.
Yeah, just mostly repetitious here, but yeah, the holiday season in January, it was quite challenging with the snow and stuff. I did attend the ASB conference, a bingo in Warner River for the seniors. Nothing else coming up. The speakers at the ASB conference were excellent. Miles Vold, especially, the beef producer and stuff, and that's basically it.
Perfect. I guess I may as well talk about what I've been up to. It's status quo, meetings and good meetings and everything, discussing water, water and all that. A big, huge shout out to the operators, grader operators and maintenance workers and everybody removing the snow. We all have to remember that we will never please everybody, but I tell you, they're doing one heck of a job and that. So a big shout out to them. And yeah, been watching some great hockey in town. Grandson plays U15 and patroning the multiplex and everything. And it is a very busy place. The Athabasca multiplex on the weekend. It is unbelievable when you actually go there and start seeing the interaction of people and people coming and going. It's crazy. It's a well used building in that, which is great. I just wanted to give that shout out there too, that it's a well used building. So yeah, and I'm really enjoying hockey. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for the counselor updates. So we'll move to item 6.1, government or development authority, subdivision authority, and municipal planning. Good afternoon. We're all ears.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This report before you is in response to a motion made on November 13th, where administration was instructed to update bylaw 25 1995 for council's review. So that bylaw that was sent back to administration establishes the county's development authority. But given the dual role of the Municipal Planning Commission being the development authority and the subdivision authority, administration thought to look at this holistically and look at all of the planning authorities at play. So that's what this report is. The work that we did, we brought all of those authorities into a single bylaw, and we hope to have that discussion with you today. So just really briefly, the council or the municipalities must establish a development authority, and you must establish a subdivision authority. And Municipal Planning Commission is allowed for, but is optional. And as you know, Municipal Planning Commission currently serves as a development authority for variances at over 10%, as well as the subdivision authority for all subdivision applications. So council does have the discretion on how to structure any of the bylaws with respect to the authorities as well as the MPC. And it is common practice through some research that many municipalities will combine two or more of, for example, they'll put the MPC and the development authority together in a bylaw. I did come across one which resembles what you have in front of you, which actually combines all three together. So in addition to the bylaw that we've consolidated those authorities, we are also recommending the amendments to the land use bylaws so that if there are any future changes to what the authority's job or what they're allowed to approve, there would not be a need to amend the land use bylaw in the future, which triggers the need for a public hearing. Instead, council could make those changes through bylaw. So I'll just quickly walk through what those changes look like, and there's probably a few spots that we're going to pause on and I'll have to answer some questions. So I brought 2 pencils because I'm sure there'll be lots of feedback. So in terms of the development authority, I think one of the bigger changes is that the CAO would be empowered or delegated the authority to appoint the development officers, which because of the CAO's responsibility for administrative oversight and employment, that makes sense for a lot of reasons, and it doesn't slow down any decision-making authority in that it would have to come to council as it currently does. The other recommendation is to, as I kind of indicated, include the powers duties in the bylaw establishing the development authority where it's currently in the land use bylaw. So as I said, we're going to pull it from the land use bylaw, put it in the development authority bylaw. But we've also made a recommendation with respect to the development authority's variance powers, specifically related to the development officer being granted more variance power up to 50% of the regulations that are currently in the land use bylaw. As I mentioned, right now that's at 10%. So what that would mean is that the Municipal Planning Commission would only see applications for variances at 50% or more, and the development officers would be allowed to make decisions under 50%. Of course, that's just up for discussion, also why I brought my pencils. So we did provide some feedback or some statistics over the last number of years of what those variances have been requested in front of the Municipal Planning Commission. Many of them, I mean, they obviously vary, but lots of them have to do with as-built or existing, where there is a real effort by planning and development to bring properties into compliance. So if I can move from the development authority, the subdivision authority changes that we're recommending is that the bylaw would establish a signing authority, again, designated by the CAO. The current subdivision authority bylaw does allow for delegation from the authority to administration, but we'd like to build the bylaw so the CAO has that authority to establish that signing officer. And the other important part under the subdivision authority is that we have established guidelines for the acceptance of minor modifications at the time of endorsement. So when a subdivision is approved, there's an expectation of lot sizes and things like that. But of course, the reality is when things get surveyed, the plans may look slightly different. So what this bylaw is proposing that if there are minor modifications and provided it meets the criteria, namely being that there wouldn't be any more lots created or any changes in the number of lots, the signing authority could go ahead and approve that rather than having to bring it back to the Municipal Planning Commission or to the subdivision authority. We do want to mention that in our research, there are municipalities that do allow for those modifications on number of lots, but we are not making that recommendation. We're just allowing for minor modifications. And then the next part is on the Municipal Planning Commission as both the development authority and the subdivision authority. So just really kind of bringing things together to reflect current practices. So we kind of added some content with respect to the chair and the vice chair and what happens in the event they're absent or until they're appointed, as well adopting the council's procedural bylaw as the procedures for the Municipal Planning Commission, with some exceptions acknowledging it's a technical committee, you're making technical decisions, and then as well to embed the responsibilities of administration in supporting the MPC. And really what that's about is making sure that administration is clearly delegated the authority to send letters and notices, decisions, and all of those things, and be the signing authority to communicate MPC's decisions. So as I mentioned earlier, to make that one bylaw stand alone, we are also recommending the text amendments to the land use bylaw. And again, this isn't necessarily about changing the rules with respect to planning or development. It's more about changing where the decision-making authority is created through your policy framework. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but of course, if I miss something, please kick my chair. No.
Perfect. So that is a lot of information, but we had it early enough, so hopefully everybody read it. So, Reeve Holland.
Thank you very much for not only the report, but for taking that dive in. When the motion came forward to look at the 1995 bylaw, it was mainly just because of the MGA being out of date, but what you've done has gone just awesome, over and above what you needed to, and I so appreciate it. I'd start with the variance authority. I think most people from previous term know exactly how I feel about variances. I get a little nervous. I totally understand where as-built are concerned, for sure. But in concern of future growth and in concern of many of our subdivisions, many of our lake areas and that kind of thing, variances can easily create a mismatch of chaos in communities. And that makes me extremely nervous. I've never been really in favor, but I think it was what was it, 1990s or something that, if anything was after 1990s, we would have a conversation about variances. Before 1990, it was kind of different. I think it was in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. But anyway, long story short, I'm not in favor of 50%. As-built maybe, but I would like to see, at least have that opportunity for council to at least see the variances coming across the desk. Yeah, so I'll leave that one there if anybody else would like to chime in on variances, because, yeah.
Councillor Johnson.
I agree. I mean, I look back to, things have changed a lot throughout the years, but you look around at a lot of our lake subdivisions and so on and so forth, where we allowed those large variances, even visually, it just doesn't make much sense to me at all.
Okay, so regarding the variances, is there something, like, do you want to put a number out there? Or do you want to just stay with 10%, or?
I would like to stay with the 10%.
Stay with 10%?
Yeah. I think it's important that we kind of still know what's going on.
Revon?
As we're chatting about it, I agree. 10% is, I'm happy with the 10% as well. The as-built, we generally tend, because unless you can move them, and that, how do we set those parameters? Can we set the parameters in the bylaw that, 50% for as-built? But if they're movable, if you can, like, if it's a shed that's on skids, for example, that's as-built, move it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we, if we go to, say, a 50% for as-built, how do we set parameters around that, knowing that if they can be moved, they would be moved? Do you know what I'm saying? That's, just to kind of compromise a little bit. But again, I don't know how those parameters would be set. So I would turn that back over to you if that's even possible.
So just to be clear, just because if the variance ability to approve in-house without taking to the municipal planning commission was, say, set at 20%, doesn't mean that every variance that is applied for gets approved, right? So we still go through all of the questions and tests and everything, right? As far as your question goes, I think it's a pretty slippery slope to make a different variance for existing structure versus new structures, right? I think that we have to be careful about those things. If MPC wants to approve all variances above 10%, then so be it. Because when you, we don't want to have gray areas, right?
Okay, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
So So where do we,
I have a
okay,
question.
Ken, go ahead.
So if we establish a parameter, is there still any flexibility in unusual cases, or is it chiseled in stone once that's in place? Like if you were, I understand the as-built part, but if it happened to be a creek or a bush or fence or something like that, and you're off by just some, and it wouldn't matter if it's in a farm, something atmosphere or environment, but you can't change it because of this. Is there any flexibility, or are we just locking it in?
So once the variance ability is built into a bylaw, we have to adhere to that. So let's take a floor area variance into consideration. So if the minimum size of floor area allowed in a certain district is 600 square feet, and somebody applies for 400 square feet, we have to bring it to the planning commission. So we do that calculation, whether it be floor area variance or a side yard variance. Those are pretty typical variances that people ask for. Sometimes it's height, sometimes it's floor area, sometimes it's offsets to property boundaries. We do the calculation, and there's no wiggle room because it's written in the bylaw. So if it's 9.5%, we make the decision in-house. If it's 10.1%, we bring it to the commission.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead, Melanie.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, if I may, I think there's two issues. First being, are you satisfied with the way in which the Development Authority, Subdivision Authority, and Municipal Planning Commission would be consolidated in the bylaw that is before you? And then if you're not satisfied with the variance issue, just tell us that, and we can bring back the variance to reflect what's currently in your planning documents. So for no changes, but that's why I say there's two issues. If you're okay with everything else, that's great feedback, and then we will go ahead and we'll make the changes as to include it the way it is in the planning documents with the variance authority. Perfect.
That's exactly what we were looking for. So thank you for that. So is everybody okay with the structure of the bylaw itself?
Oh, there's a few other things we should discuss.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sounds like we're going to discuss a few other things. So.
Yeah, let's discuss, and I mean, that's it, again, that's what's beneficial about committee of the whole. We get to have these conversations and go away and think about it a little bit before the bylaw comes back. So, there's getting the information and discussing what we think, but having the time to think about it is also important. So for me, I'm good with leaving it at the 10%. I don't know where everybody else for sure is, but that's where I'm satisfied with. If we want to move into then the subdivision authority, I guess on page 40, establishes guidelines for the acceptance of minor modifications at the time of endorsement. This one I struggle with as well, because it kind of feels, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just how the impression that I'm getting from it is that the MPC would approve something, all the conditions within it, and then it goes back and it can be under, certain criteria where minor modifications are made. How does that come back to MPC to say, hey, you guys accepted this, but we changed this? Have I got that understanding correct on what the point is of minor modifications?
I think the purpose, one of the purposes is so, when they bring a tentative plan forward, that's what it is a tentative plan. And so sometimes when the surveyor actually goes out there and measures and finds that, even though a survey plan says it's 30 meters, it might be 29.5 meters, right? So the pins on the ground govern from the survey standpoint. So the plan that was made when the township system was surveyed in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, what's on the ground may differ a little bit than what's actually thought to be there. So sometimes distances may change a little bit, or angles may change a little bit. What we've done to date is we've worked with the surveyors to say, okay, you can't change the size of the lot or the shape of the lot, but you know, when they get out there on the ground and what's on the ground is different than what the plan says, there's always got to be a little bit of wiggle room. Or, you know, sometimes they cite where the septic system might be, and when they get out there, it might be a little bit different. And so those are the types of small tweaks. You know, we've had, I think, anybody that was on council past time, there's the odd time where, you know, folks bring us a tentative plan, and what ends up getting approved doesn't sort of match what they need. And so we've had to make them reapply. And so giving the designated officer some ability to accept minor amendments to that original plan might be beneficial. Of course, we also have to, in these cases, when we get a subdivision application, all applications are referred out, as you know, to interested parties, title holders, next door neighbors. And so when we get something that looks totally different from the original application, then we would have to re-refer that out and bring it back to Municipal Planning Commission. But this would give us the ability to allow for minor, and believe me, as long as I'm around, they're going to be very minor. Because I always, you know, we work really hard with applicants to get things right the first time. Mm-hmm. And we also work really hard with their surveyor typically to make sure that everything's being captured. And so, you know, we no longer accept napkins with sketches on them. So the ability to accept something that's a little bit different than what's approved would be beneficial as far as sort of moving these processes along.
Okay, so if I may, tentative plans get approved. If something has to change, it has to come back to MPC as it sits now.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so the minor changes, or the minor what we're trying to refer to, would include, okay, so if I'm reading it right, it's on page 45, 7.5, A, B, C, D, and E. So long as there is no increase in the number of parcels, the municipal, school, or environmental reserves are not compromised, municipal roads and standards are not compromised, conditions from referral agencies are not compromised, and changes comply with municipal bylaws, with the exception that minor changes to the land use bylaw standards may be included as provided in section 654, sub 2 of the Act. So with that last one in E, it already says in the Act that minor changes can happen. We just don't do it as it sits right now. Okay. Please.
Sorry, if I may, the act says that the subdivision authority may approve an application for a subdivision approval, even though the subdivision does not comply with the land use bylaw, and then it goes through the test, does not materially interfere and do with the amenities, the blah, 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 right? So the subdivision authority has that already embedded in the MGA. So this just kind of maintains that, again, because you may have made or MPC may have made a decision with a modification to the land use bylaw because it doesn't affect anybody. And so that has to align with the actual endorsement when the time comes.
Okay. So by allowing the minor change modifications, obviously speeds up your work in a big way, I would think, right? Not having to bring it back to MPC. Is there a way though, at least some kind of notification so that because for me, it's also a learning curve, right? To learn what this is about and the why and the how, and so that you're able to make better decisions and all of those types of things. So as you've explained it, the way you've explained it, I'm more comfortable with minor modifications, but I would also like to learn about them, know about them when they happen. And I don't know if that's something that we can bake into the bylaw either.
So I think that's fair. The only concern that I would have is sometimes these processes take a year or 2 years. And so, we certainly could add to our MPC agenda any amendments that have been made along the way. But by the time we get there, committee may not even remember that application because it might be a year or 18 months later. If that's something that council ultimately makes a decision on, administration could certainly supply that information to the committee. But like I said, it's not the next month or the month after. It's typically kicked down the road, potentially between 6 months and 2 years. Because as you know, we're willing to give one extension. So that's a 2-year span that folks have to meet these conditions. So, sort of it's going to be inside that 2 years. And by the time it comes back to the committee, that decision's kind of long gone. But if that's something that council wants to bake in here, we could consider that.
Okay, thank you. Understood. So yeah, I'm more comfortable with it now with the explanation than prior to. So I really appreciate that. I just have a couple more items to look at here. Page 47. This is just minor and it's just in language really. 13.5 meeting procedures shall be provided for in the procedural bylaw. However, the commission may vary the procedural bylaw to the extent necessary. So would the shall be better off as being a may? Because I'm thinking we're almost contradicting where shall is an absolute must, but we may do some variant, you know what I mean?
Thank you. And if I may respond, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
members of the committee. So the Municipal Government Act states that when you establish a municipal planning commission, you have to establish the procedures that go along with it. So this was a way to just say, these are our baseline procedures, but then acknowledging that there might be good reasons for there to be slight modifications at that time.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that clarity. And same page 47, 14.1D, just thinking we're just missing one word, sign orders, decisions, approvals, notices, and other items on behalf of the commission, just that, it's just very, very minor. And then I'm looking at bylaw 14.2026, just for any notes that I had there. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at. The variance is really my only biggest concern.
So, yeah, so the variance, so how does everybody else feel about the actual bylaw? Councillor Hall.
So I think the bylaw to me is a good decision. It's a good consolidation. But as a reminder, many places delegate, all these authorities to the professional staff. So I'm happy, with even the minor changes and assigning that to administration, because I think it's important that we look to best practices and we look to bring our stuff up to the current century, if you will. But mostly it's important we reduce red tape and make it easier to do business in Athabasca County. And I personally feel we need to trust our administration. They are the experts, and stuff that I'm hearing is these are only decisions which are basically not material, right? Like they're not making wild changes. It's things of almost housekeeping nature are pretty minor. I don't, on the variance one, I don't agree with the reduction to 10%. I think, we've seen in the past some reporting on the amount of times MPC has varied from the recommendations that administration has made. And in the vast majority of decisions, the MPC has supported what administration has recommended. And so I think, on that, we should be making data-driven decisions. And the data really demonstrates that we're not adding tons of value, or that the MPC isn't, to those variance requests. And because we've rarely changed the recommendation of admin, lowering it to 10% for me really just adds administrative burden. It adds red tape. It adds bureaucracy and delay. And I think it would be important that we respect the recommendation of admin. But I would be happy to delegate that to the experts and focus our space on time where we can add value. Because as it is today, a 60 square foot variance on, say, floor area, for example, needs to come back to MPC. And I feel like, given that we almost always go with what admin recommends, we should just let them do it. They've demonstrated their capability. And so for me, the 50% is an important improvement to the bylaw and to our ability to process applications in a timely manner and get development moving in the county. So I would propose we consider strongly the administration's recommendation of staying at 50%.
Okay. Reeve Holland had the first go.
Thank you. And I really appreciate what you're saying, Councillor Hall. For me, we have a whole new municipal planning commission that hasn't had that same ability that we have had through the people who've returned to the next term. So in what you're saying, I would be comfortable with it if it was not a brand new municipal planning commission. However, I think it would be fair to our new members on the commission to at least give them a year before we revisit the variance so that we can determine whether or not these variances are as satisfactory to them, as they were not complete unanimous votes every single time. So I would rather see some time given to the new municipal planning commission before carrying forward with those stats that you provided.
Okay, Councillor Chomsik.
I giggle because we must be thinking in unison, because that's basically what I said. We can always bring it back if it becomes an issue. It's a learning curve. We do have new members, and I mean, the opportunity to see why things are. I mean, I don't see an issue coming back next year.
Okay.
I personally say we should dispense with MPC altogether, given that the data-driven decisions would tell us it doesn't and hasn't historically added value. So I will appreciate the differing opinions, but I think we can't keep kicking decisions down the road and down the road and down the road. I mean, we've got to look to where we can really add value and how we spend our time wisely. And MPCs burn up lots of admin time. So we keep hearing that administration is near capacity and, trying to juggle their the various requests that council puts on them. I think we need to think really carefully about moving forward to something like this, and then maybe reviewing it in a year and seeing what the results have been after the fact. But I don't know. I'm going to be on a different page.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm on a different page also too. I don't want to see the MPC go anywhere anytime soon. So I like the bylaw. I'm okay with holding the 10% if for the year. And see, I've been to virtually just about every MPC meeting, and there's not very many variances that come up. And the ones that do, sure, we agree, but at least we get to see them. And I think that's important. If it gets to the point where, we're having MPC meetings like prior to council meetings that take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and it's I think it's a productive meeting. Our new councilors are learning what this is all about. So I like the bylaw though, get everything together and have one bylaw instead of three. So let's start there. Let's do the bylaw, and that's my point of view. So I don't know where to go here. I don't know if somebody wants to make a motion to
If I may, there's a recommendation here that draft bylaw 13/2026 and bylaw 14/2026 be forwarded to council as presented. However, the presented portion I would like to change in that particular motion to, with the exception of the 10%, with the exception of the variance remaining at 10%.
Right. So Ken's gonna recommend that we move the 13/2026 and 14/2026 to forward it to the council with the recommendation to keep the 10% variance. Everybody understand? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 6 opposed, 2. So it's going to be move forward. Perfect. Thank you very much. So we will move on to 6.2.
Still here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a report on the policy that pertains to council's appointments to boards and committees for members at large. So not the manner in which council appoints its own members to boards and committees, but rather the public members to the boards and committees. And this is in response to a motion that was made in December for administration to provide some advice on that policy. So we haven't necessarily brought forward amendments to the policy, but rather points of consideration. And if you want, I can walk through them, or if they're okay the way they are in front of you, I'm either way.
I think we got some questions to be.
No questions. No, great job. Yeah, really appreciate it. It looks really good to me. I thought it was an awesome recommendation that was brought forward in the original motion, and really appreciate the work you put into it, and thank you very much. Looks great.
Yeah, I'd rather too. It's very good. Anybody else want to have a discussion on it, or I think who wants to recommend to the council? Go ahead, or Councillor Chomsik. The council directs administration to bring forward a revised policy 8202 appointments to committees and boards to a future committee of the whole meeting as recommended. So, yeah. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, new business. 11.1 service level review. That's a schedule. I think that's CEO Beck. You brought that forward, right?
Yep, I did. Yep, this is proposed for committee's review. Previous council and then a little bit this council has talked about, we've got a lot of policies to review. And the ones to focus on first, we believe, were the ones that really affect the public. We also have to review internal policies. We have to fix some things, but the ones that really affect public's quality of life, their roads, their dust control, we're recommending those things be prioritized. And so we put together a schedule over the next year of the ones we think we could do in certain orders. This is just administration's suggestion. We're open to council suggestion, and but otherwise we'd like to start off just by doing one big one every month until we get the big ones done. And remember that some of these won't be done in 1 month. They might start the discussion in 1 month and might go over. So, but those are some big ones that we either lack policies or some policies where we're finding some things that just, we're not sure they work. So I'll give you an example. The one winter driveway and roadway snow plowing probably needs a little work, just the administration's opinion. So, maybe great intentions the last time it was reviewed, but we found a few things that really don't work for the residents. Let's put it that way. So the schedule is there for council's committee's consideration.
I like the idea. I really do. And I like kind of like the format that it's setting up on, because biggest thing is it doesn't matter. Like, these things are going to be discussed, and it's perfect to actually be able to discuss these. Like, we don't want to start talking about winter driveway plowing now, right? Or dust control in May. and stuff like that. So I like the way it's set up. And like, let's call a spade. Every council talks about these every year. So great job. I very much like the way this is set up. How does everybody else feel? Reeve Holland.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the agenda, so I had a lot of questions, but I really like this too. I think this is fantastic and really sets us up for success and sets the county and the admin up for success. The only one other item that I have popped into my mind immediately, because it's a hot topic, is the utility rates bylaw for water. And I know you're mentioning policies, but would it be, it's a service and it's something that I know every single council, it's in the newspaper on a regular, everybody's talking about it. They do it in December. So to prepare for any possible increases that the commission may have, et cetera, et cetera. So would we be able to add one more to this schedule?
Well, this one's specific kind of to policies.
Yeah.
That's a bylaw.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, there's an outstanding motion for us to bring that back in February or March.
Yes.
And at one of the next meetings, we've got a bylaw on there affecting the Collington local improvement bylaw. So in order to make that one effective, we've got to change the utilities bylaw. So it's kind of has to come back, even if it's not shown on here. There's lots of other things. This is really specific to levels of service policy.
Okay, thank you.
That's actually a very good point. If we could change that policy, because I really do believe also that we should be looking at utilities at budget time. Just due to the fact that we know what we're charging then. It's this changing, setting the budget and then changing the utilities bylaw after the budget's interim budget set is like crazy to me, but so yeah, I like that idea. Councilor Chowsik?
Just making sure, some of these titles are very broad spectrum. For exactly, I'm having trouble wording today.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, for example, for enforcement in June, as Director Wilkinson mentioned earlier, would that be included with the community standards, those types of things as well?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, I mean, but we're not going to address everything in there. It's kind of, council's never really established a level of service policy on what do you want from an enforcement program. That is, what do you want us to focus on? Some places, their peace officers, they want them out there writing tickets to everybody. Then you move one county over, they don't want that. They want, can you deal with unsightly properties? Can you deal with animal complaints? I don't know if council's ever sat down and said, this is what we want from a program. You may have by council motion here and there, but some places have actually developed a policy. So we'd bring back a sample and say, council, what are your number 1, 2, and 3 priorities for us? That's what it is.
A mini strat plan.
Yeah.
A mini strat plan.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other, Councilor Hall?
The one thing that I wondered about, this is fine, I like all of them. I wondered about the campground one, because of its impact on budgets and all of that, if that was something that, I mean, I know you don't generally want to talk about changing a program in the middle of the cycle, but I mean, for something like campgrounds, if we should try to move that to a different, more earlier time, like swapping it with June, specifically so we can start talking about what do we envision for our campgrounds going forward, so that by the time budget rolls around in the fall, we actually have a plan going forward on whether we want them to be whatever, right? Because I think that's it's a big basket. And so my thinking is that once we start a discussion, that won't happen over one meeting, that'll happen over months. And to be fair to admin, they'll need some time to work out a business plan for those campgrounds.
But yeah.
And by campgrounds, I don't mean I'm thinking about county campgrounds, not the ones that I'm suspecting my colleague is putting his microphone on to address.
Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also sometimes at the end of a season, it's pretty good to look back at what happened during the season and plan for the following season. You know, whatever happened the season before. You know, if we had problems in the campground during the summer, let's fix them, and let's fix them after the season over, so we can look forward to the next year being the same or better. Could work both ways.
And I make the remark because it's clear how slowly planning moves in the municipal world. So if you wanted to make a plan for campgrounds in 2027, and I mean, again, county campgrounds, where we either want them to function in a different way or, you know, whatever we want to happen, us starting a discussion in November, given how busy November is with RMA and with budget and admin is, you're not talking about 2027, you're talking about 2028. And where if you start it in June, you know, there's a chance to actually June of 26 lets you have something in place for the booking season of 2027 potentially, and gives admin a fair shot to, because anyway, that's the only thought I had regarding this.
Okay. Yep, Councillor Johnson.
I think, you know, with some of those things that we talk about, one of the things that us as council really have to be cognizant too of when we're planning proposed changes, perhaps whether it be campgrounds or whatever, is being very clear with our motions of if we need data relating back to whatever it may be. And I just wanted to throw that out there to be thinking about those things with some of these titles that are coming up.
Yeah, I understand that. You're saying that, like, how, if we need that data regarding the campgrounds, how can we have that data?
Campgrounds enforcement, whatever it may be, to build a stronger policy or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and having it like this, it still doesn't mean that we can't, like, if we require it or administration requires it to come forward earlier, they just bring it forward, right? This is just a kind of like a programmed, a guideline. There we are, a guideline, right? So
I think it's excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So is that enough feedback, or do we want to change something? Or I think it's a great start, and I like the way it's lined up. Truly do. So everybody good with that?
Do we need a motion?
Except for information, or I guess to implement it? Sure. We can make a motion
To recommend to council to implement the proposed schedule of levels?
recommend to council to implement the proposed schedule
Of levels of service policy.
of levels of service policy,
Review.
or levels of service policy review schedule. Yep. All in favor? Opposed? Be 7-1. Motion carried. Ooh. Here's the good one. We'll try not to make you laugh too much today, okay? So 7.2 draft policy 3405 dust suppression program. Thank you for bringing this forward.
Well, we thought we'd start with the easy one first.
There we are.
Oh, right up until we get to the driveway plowing one.
Yeah.
Okay, so before you, we've brought kind of a draft dust suppression program policy. You'll notice that strategically we have gone away from dust control to dust suppression. They do mean two totally different things. We're not eliminating dust, we are suppressing it. So with that comes a different expectation when we're talking with the public. So really, I guess the three big things we want to talk about with council is, of course, the cost share. It's heavily subsidized. It really only deals with product. And, you know, when I look at your last trend of budget and some of the challenges we had with balancing budget this year, you know, I look back to 2018, our full cost was $900 and we were charging $300. And that stayed in place until 21, when we went to $350 cost. In 2022, it went up to $385. In 2023, it went to $400. And in 2024, it dropped to $200.
Yeah.
If you compare that with, you know, your trends in budget, I think you got an email from me that showed your actuals. You know, you can see the result of that in 2025. So it had, yes, and it was identified in the policy that, or the RFD that I look back at, that there would be a cost savings to the ratepayer. I'm not sure that the agenda item identified what the impact on budget would be, but maybe it was. I wasn't here. So we just want to identify it for you, that what some of those changes in 2024, how it did impact your budget. It basically increased it by $350,000.
Right.
So, and if council's good with that, that's fine. That's a question that we wanted to discuss with you. We wanted to make sure that you had all of the information. And, you know, that our decisions are made on all the information. One of the other, excuse me. One of the other things we wanted to talk about was distance, you know, from the road. You know, right now, there is no threshold. If you're adjacent to the road and you're 700 meters back in the field, you get cost share. So we've kind of addressed that in the new policy. We're suggesting that if you're more than 250 meters away from the road, you should probably pay for the dust control. You probably don't need it, but I guess more than anything, those are the things that we wanted to talk about. And, you know, does the current policy meet your expectations? There's a number of things in there where we're doing subdivisions. I'm not sure if council realizes this, but back in 24, when you made the changes, that recommendation was to rescind 2408, or sorry, 3408. And 3406, I believe is the other one. Well, that's where the list of roads were that you were going to do. So when I'm reviewing that, that list doesn't exist anymore. Although they still are doing it because nobody communicated with Public Works that that list didn't exist anymore. But my interpretation is when you rescinded that policy, you rescinded that list, and that list doesn't exist today. Now, I need to verify that with you because that's only my interpretation of it. So.
Okay, Revon.
Just with regards to subdivisions, for example, I pulled the original, our current policy, and it took me a little bit to try and figure out what all the changes were in the draft one. But in the current one, as it mentions in 3.3, dust control agents may be applied at no charge and at the discretion of the county for access and internal roads to county subdivisions, excluding condominiums. So rescinding the previous bylaw, remove the list, but now the new bylaw includes all of the subdivisions.
So that's access roads to subdivisions.
Access and internal roads. That's current.
Okay, so we're going to do them all.
That's what's the current. That's what we
Perfect.
understood because we were wondering why.
Well, that's why we're
it
here.
was, right? But the draft mentions just access roads.
correct?
right? So not the internal. So
Correct.
that's what was changed,
So,
right? But it would include all subdivisions.
so the current policy does talk about subdivisions. So we only did a few. And they were supposed to alternate every second year based on the old policy. So that wasn't happening. Some are getting done every year, some aren't getting done at all. There's a lot of confusion around what is council's desire and level of service that we're supposed to provide. Hence the reason we're here
Yep.
to discuss and get clarity of what your expectations of us and what we're going to do. And then I'll let you know what the impact on budget's going to be.
Right. So can we get a definition in your mind of what access roads are for subdivisions and internal roads are for subdivisions? So that everybody has the same understanding, is on the same page, what that means when you remove the internal road.
As soon as we get a definition on what is a multi-lot subdivision.
Well, that we have a land binder that has them all stacked in there in that multi-lot section.
So we're looking for clarity on that, right? So does it have to have internal roads? Do 4 single parcels adjacent to a roadway constitute a multi-lot subdivision? Because today it does.
Well, and
We're providing dust suppression in front of some of those. Well, I don't know what the difference is between those and a single parcel sitting on the side of the road. Why are they being treated differently? It's not my call, it's yours. You get to set the level of service. I just need clarity so I can enforce the policy. So does it have to have an internal road? Does it have to have a minimum number of lots?
Right.
You know, if we're gonna set those types of criteria, we have to be very clear about what the criteria is and who's eligible and who isn't. That's all.
So just going back to for internal roads and access to subdivisions. So I'm thinking Copper Ridge Estates, I'll just start my division out here by Aspen Ridge Road. They are gravel. I would think the access is up to the subdivision, but when you get, as soon as you start getting into the subdivision, like the cul-de-sacs would be considered an internal road. Am I right or not? See, that's the thing that we have to understand is what you define as an internal road so that, you know, we can look at, there is a binder, like I say, with all that lists in a section of multi-lot subdivisions, what that looks like. Like, for example, okay, Century Road is paved, but then you have all of these, what I'll call cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
Not even cul-de-sacs, roundabouts. Are those considered internal roads when you leave the pavement? Not the driveways, but just the roads that go in, you know?
I would say everything off the pavement is an internal
An
road.
internal road.
My interpretation of internal roads would be anything outside the township road or range road.
Okay.
So, you know, if you go into, there might be a main drag going through the subdivision. That's an internal road.
Right.
If it's not on the range road or on the township road, that's just my interpretation, but.
Okay.
Just hang on.
I just want to clarify. So for example, in the new draft policy, removing internal roads would mean Century Estates, for example, would no longer have
Correct,
any dust control.
correct.
I don't think they would like that.
You don't think what?
I don't think they would like that very much.
That's why you get to make the decision.
Counselor DeHollick.
Yeah, I got a few comments on this, on the cemetery ones. I don't think, in my area anyway, it's really necessary to do the dust control in the cemeteries. You know, sometimes you might hit one funeral a year and stuff, and I don't know, maybe just gonna keep everything from getting dusty, but I really feel that the cemeteries or some of the cemeteries aren't necessary. It'd be cost saving there.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Not gonna-
It's cheaper to apply dust control in the mow.
So, like I said, some of these multi-lot ones, I agree, they're not gonna be happy if you're not gonna do it at Century Estates anymore. But if you're gonna do their, why aren't we doing everybody's?
Well, that's what the intention was of this new policy that we had passed, because it says we removed the list out of the old policy that was rescinded. But this one says, at the discretion of the county, access and internal roads to county subdivisions. That meant all, right? Not a list.
Okay, so where does a multi-lot subdivision end?
Well, example, like I say, we understand the multi-lot subdivisions in our little land management, not land, whatever it's called. No, it's a land something book.
Yeah.
Councilor Hall knows the name of it, but there is an actual chapter in there that's lists the multi-lot subdivisions. That's what I understand them to be.
Okay,
Director Wilkinson handed them out to us. I believe, the land.
The access roads to multi-lot subdivisions. I
It's a
can think of, one, where we apply dust control, and that was going into Amisk Lake. The main road going in, Amisk Lake used to pay, Amisk Lake residents used to actually pay for us to put calcium in there. And then we got rid of it and just added it on as we just do it, but I'm gonna I was looking there in the policies and stuff. So I'm gonna pick on our industrial users down in Division 1, 4, 2, the Tamarack and Flywheel and all that. We put a whole bunch of dust control down on those roads down there. How are they charged?
we invoice them,
Total cost?
yes?
Okay. As long as they're paying total cost.
I'll make sure, but my understanding was it's 100% them.
100% them if we,
And then the residents that are on those roads get the benefit of them paying for it.
okay. Okay. The Village of Boyle, do we do any dust control?
I don't think we do any that they don't pay for.
Do they pay full cost?
I believe so, but I can verify.
Yeah, that would be very, very good to know if they pay full cost or not. I understand going into the lagoon because that's under an agreement.
That's under an agreement, yeah.
Yeah, but any other thing?
But I mean, we're doing transfer stations and everybody argues that there's 16 ways to get to a transfer station, so they should get their dust control for free. So,
Councilor Johnson.
I know in councils past, but before us, I do remember conversations about that, particularly maybe the area I live in. And they decided on a specific route. Many arguments between two routes were there, and it was, from my understanding, council approved that particular route was chosen to be dust controlled by the council of the day.
Yeah.
And
that's the
all-
one north of Grassland.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's two accesses going in there. So we had
And
to,
there's two at the one at Wandering River as well.
yeah,
And we're doing them all.
We're only, from my understanding, we were only doing the one road to the Grassland transfer station.
There's two.
it was designated as down White Swan Road North, whatever that is.
That one's not near as, I think there's only 3 locations there.
Yeah.
It's not near as impactful as the
Wandering
one
River.
up north. There's quite a few that we provide there free of cost. So, and we're doing multi-lot subdivisions where there's 4 adjacent to the road. I'm just trying to clean it up so that
Councilor Hall.
So I think, I mean, I know it's a challenging subject because there's no easy and right answer. You know, in some cases, a home along a busy road is a home along a busy road. And I mean, the road's development happens and the road gets busier and that's one of the features of living in the country is that we live on unpaved streets, and that's where some of the subsidy comes in, where if you want it, you can pay for it. I think for me, safety matters, and that should be one of our considerations, you know, when the county is responsible for something. So if you're thinking about dust and path into our campground at Narrow Lake or Forfar campground, you know, we're creating a nuisance to the folks that live there, and do we have some obligation to tidy that up? I think maybe. But also, I think we need to think about hamlets and multi-lot subdivisions as very similar. You know, we've on the list here, we're going to do hamlets, so Perryvale and Donnetville, and yet we're not going to do, or potentially not going to do places like Century Estates and some of the Amos Lake stuff. Although I can't remember how much is paved in there, but we've, the county at no cost to the residents, as far as I can tell, has paved hamlets, and yet, we've got equally valuable communities that are really dense clusters of housing in rural areas. Because that's, if we're honest with ourselves, or for me at least, a hamlet and a multi-lot subdivision are not wildly different. They're a dense cluster of rural housing. I think we need to be equitable in how we treat that thing. And so if we're just going to hand out pavement in some of these places, then the compromise is maybe because we can't afford to hand out pavement in all the other ones, maybe we do the dust control for nothing. And I don't know where you draw the line, and I don't know if it's 4 houses in a row, on Aspen Ridge Road or the other one, South Athabasca Hall Road, or if it's, a little block of houses that are clumped together and off the main road. Like I think that's a discussion we need to have, because they all have value, and it's how do we provide that benefit. And for some folks, this is one of the real big services they see themselves as getting from the county, where they don't use the moms and tots at FCSS and a lot of the other things we provide. But I think, as we all know, of the 160 some services we offer, most of us probably don't use 150 of them, but my 10 are maybe different than your 10. And then the other thing I think it's important for us to at least consider in here is, we have, most of our ratepayers are single individuals or, single families, like a one unit group of people. But we also have these communities in the 3 Hutterite colonies that exist. Those are communities in their own way, like in their own, like a town or a village, so they create these high traffic roads that are nearby. And when you have 80 or 100 people living in one site, instead of in a hamlet, we treat them different. And I wonder, because, they're very easily defined, if we shouldn't be thinking about creating a little bit more breadth to how we deal with those when you have what essentially is, a small, bigger than most of our hamlets and villages, living in one space, but we'll give them one single 200-meter block of subsidized strip. To me, there's an argument where maybe we should make an exception and have it a little bit longer, whether it's 400 or 600, or I'm not saying 8 times 200, but I think we should consider that going to full fare in that circumstance is maybe not as equitable as we would have thought, because if you had 80 different people living on 80 different acreages, we'd subsidize 80 different dust control applications.
See, the biggest thing is why we had this list. It's just due to the fact of this, is how much it was actually costing Athabasca County to spray this dust control on their own. And we were doing subdivisions and roads that we were doing them every year that didn't need to be done every year. So that's why the list was brought up. The 2-year program was put in place to say, this year you're getting it, next year you're not, unless it's deemed that it needs to be, or if something's happened that, but that consideration was taken on by the county to say yes or no. But every second year you will get dust control. So when we remove that, you're exactly right. Are we gonna spray these spots every year we go around? And what ends up happening is not every spot, like not every subdivision needs to be sprayed every year. Every second year is quite usually good enough, you know, because they're not paying for it anyway. The county's supplying this dust control. So there's places out there where people pay for it that actually need to have it done twice a year because there's so much traffic. So, you know, that's why that list was there. I guess looking back now, can't remember if I voted for it or not. We should have never removed that list. We should have stayed with that list, and I'd be more than happy to see that list come back in our policy because it made sense and it saved money. It honestly did. So
I agree, made sense when followed. Every second year.
every second year, yeah. And if the person that lives in the middle of the subdivision decided, no, they wanted dust control, they paid for it. And if it covered the neighbors and everybody else, it doesn't matter. They paid for it. But I also still do think that we need to, as county and as administration, be able to say yay or nay if that dust control needs to be placed there. If you have somebody just because I want it, I'm gonna pay the $200, and you go out there, it's just as black away from it where it is. No, I'm sorry. We have to be able to say no to people. Can't always say yes. So I would like to see that list come back and actually start working by that list. Yep, go ahead.
Awesome. No, I totally agree with that as well. I think we would create quite a conundrum by telling our dense populated areas, no, that this service is being removed, especially considering when we hear, what do we get for our taxes, right? So I think, I don't know about you, but I definitely agree. 2 years, bring the list back, figure out where those locations are so that it's clear. But just moving forward a little bit as well on your draft policy, 3.24, it still mentions the dust suppression program as a 50-50 cost share program between the county and the applicant based on product costs only. Is that?
I put that in there because I was trying to identify to you that the $200, if the intent is that that's a 50-50, it's only covering product.
Exactly. Yeah, because it was mentioned to us when we looked at that policy that there was a heck of a deal on the product. And
it is.
Right. And then so that also raises the question to me that I need help with is, by placing the dust control down, how much does it save on greater maintenance that offsets the cost of the dust control?
Yeah. I don't know if it actually, like on short pieces, by the time, you know, you're high blading to get to them after a rain so you can deal with them when there's some moisture. I'm not sure you're saving anything on the short pieces.
Right, but in the,
you know, if you're talking about long stretches, like a few miles, you know, you're probably seeing a savings there. But the amount of extra roading and stuff we have to do to try and rush out and do them after we get a little bit of moisture, I'm not sure we're saving much.
Then you got to bring in a water truck.
Yep.
If you lose the moisture, you got 1 day. Just call it here. You got 1 day to get out there. And if you got 50 applications in your area, 1 day ain't gonna cut it. So now
That's
you're
1 day
calling.
longer than we have for snow plowing.
What's that?
That's 1 day longer than people expect us to have the snow done.
Yeah. But that's just the nature of the beast, right? So
I think it's important though, the council, when you bring up that 0.4 and my identification of product only, like when we're putting dust suppression down for the program, we have a water truck there full time. We have a grader prepping. We have to gravel some of them. CAO Beck and I had quite a long discussion on gravel. Yeah, you know what? Should gravel be billed to dust control? You know what? No, because it probably should just be part of the gravel program, right? So, but if you were looking at product and the grader time and the water truck and everything else all included, staff time, because we have a full-time checker, you know, that would be your real costs, right? Whether that's something council wants to look at or not, that's completely up to you. But that's why we're bringing it to you.
Okay. No, and I appreciate that, because I mean, we kind of looked at that in the previous years, you know, the 400 to 385, that kind of included the operational end of things as well, right? So outside the product. So just moving forward, just on a couple of things before we get off that topic, or to get off that topic for a little bit. Any residence that is more than 250 meters from the roadway may apply for dust suppression, but is not eligible for cost share. Where did the 250 meter?
It's just other policies that I'm familiar with in other municipalities.
Okay.
It's where they've drawn the line.
Okay. Because you know, and it all depends too on location, right? Is there vegetation that's in the way? Because as you mentioned, safety matters, but so does health and environment, right? And depending on the wind, depending on the vegetation that's around some of these homes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you can see that stuff travel for a mile, right? And it can get pretty sketchy.
You live in a
So,
valley.
you know, exactly. You have all of these different factors that depending on how far dust can actually go. And it does, you know, I read in doing a little bit of research on this, one thing that stuck out in my mind is 1 car, 1 mile, 1 car, 1 mile, 1 year, 1 ton of dust on a gravel road. Blew my mind, right? And so when you start thinking about how much dust is being dumped in the environment, dumped on, you know, these kinds of things, it's a lot of dust. And so when you're looking at 150 cars on one road, you're getting a heck of a lot more moving than what we think, right? And so that was a concern for me on the 250. I was just curious where it came from. Cemeteries, I kind of look at it as, again, how often is a cemetery visited and how hard it is to keep it clean, right? And when I looked at that, right, it, you know, depends on how busy the cemetery is. You know, again, we look at 1 car, 1 mile, you know, I keep thinking all of that dust going in there. So that was just something that I was thinking about there. The additional sections of dust suppression application must be done in a minimum of 100 meters section. So this is where, I think this was new last year, when we had this, we're going to add, if anybody wants to apply for more than their 200 meters, they can pay full cost. I'd like to see that gone, because we don't have, we're talking time as well, right? On all of this kind of stuff and how much time it takes. Some people were not getting dust control, and I know weather's a factor, but not getting dust control till July or August, wondering why they bothered, right? So because we're adding people wanting more than the 200 meters than what we've allotted and saying, well, hey, I want another 100, I want another 200, I want another, it just continually adds more work in that area before it can move on to another.
You're saying, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying they could cost share as much as they wanted.
No, I mean.
You're saying nothing over 200 meters.
Nothing over 200 meters.
Okay.
No more additional sections. No more, I want more, I want more, I want more. No more additional. Yeah, I would like to see that completely, no more additional. You get 200 meters, you get 200 meters, unless you live on the corner, right? Where it was 200 in front and 200 on the side kind of thing. That's just my personal opinion. And then, yeah, because it mentions applicants are required to clearly identify where they want the dust suppression. That's all cool. I'm just trying to go through the whole thing. There was one more, every 2 years we mentioned, no additional. I think I pretty much covered it all, but yeah, this is always a tough one and people are pretty much expecting their $200 this year. Are we looking at changing the amount? Whether it be from 200 to 250 or 200 to 300, are we looking at considering that?
I think that's what this discussion is kind of all about. I think the administration wants to know where we're sitting and everything. Councillor Stasiak has been very patient and I want to go to him.
Just a quick question. Is this our only source of dust control or is there other options we have? In my division, past my place even, I've noticed once we put dust control, sometimes it becomes burdensome because you get a pothole in it, it's rough, you can't grade it. Is there something better that we could be using that may be cheaper and would change the whole picture of how much dust control we can apply at the same cost?
Absolutely.
Pavement.
Yeah, it's called base pave.
Yeah.
It's $1.5 million a mile.
No, that's just in Division 1. That's not. But I noticed,
You know,
well,
in fairness, we've assessed and reviewed a number of products, as all municipalities do. We're all looking for the silver bullet that, because we all know what it is and we can't afford it, right? We
Right.
all know what
But no,
asphalt does.
why I'm asking this is in Perryville, that one street that was tore up last year, something was put on that road and it smells like petroleum, but yet it doesn't solidify. It's like gravel, so a grader can maintain it. Was that something different, or what is that?
So I believe that was fiber mat is what was put down there, but there's lots of other things like that. SB 90 is another soft oil that you can kind of work whenever you want. But the problem is all of those, you put them down on the top of the subgrade road surface and you don't have any base course in between them. And they trap moisture, and sooner or later it's going to fail. And then your road is 100% saturated underneath, and you basically got to tear out the whole road and dry it out and start over. But I mean, there are, unless it's sandy, that's a different scenario. But there are a lot of different products out there. But the reality is that, you know, this seems to be the product that gives us the best bang for our buck. And you're not going to get any cheaper. And the chances are we're like, I mean, the well is right outside our back door. Like, we're as close to the supply chain as you can get. So that's why we're getting such a good rate on a per liter cost. You know,
I used to spray about 500,000 liters of used oil. Yeah, we could work that. Wasn't very good for the environment.
Environment.
And get it down by the lake. Councillor Chamblick.
One thing, two little things. When I look at dwelling, I'm just curious, does that mean RVs are also now considered dwellings?
I can tell you that last year I approved 3 locations that when I read your definition of a dwelling in the policy, they have kitchen, they have operating washrooms, and the other was sleeping quarters, I believe. And they had a blue sign.
Yeah.
I really had no mechanism to say no, so I approved it.
So
the sorry, if you don't mind, follow up afterwards. Low attention span. Rotating divisions. I missed that. I didn't see it anywhere in the policy. In the past, it would be divisions 6, 1, 9 on a rotational for dust suppression and just
For the order they're
for
done.
whatever order. But
It's a
yeah,
good
just
idea
so
to put it
that-
in the policy.
making
It's-
sure that stays within the policy. 'cause
Yeah,
I think
it's still a
always-
procedure for us, but
Okay.
we could make sure that it made it back into the policy because that's important, but it's still part of the procedure.
Yeah, I
So-
think it's important because definitely when you're on that tail end of things compared to the first, it all depends on how.
For sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Dahlik.
Well, I think, I know, there's a lot of places in my division that gets oil or dust control, and it doesn't need it every year. Who determines whether they need it or not?
The applicant.
Yeah, my wife insisted we have it. We don't need it. I'm at the end of the road.
You're gonna have to talk to her.
You know, I think
I'm out.
if you're doing it year after year, I can see 1 year, but the next year it should be doubled.
Well, you convince
Well,
we're your
a whole lot
closest
of other
friends
people
here.
You gotta convince, you know, I don't think it's gotta be done every year.
Councillor Hall.
So that's an interesting comment, and does it require being done every year? Like
Yeah.
where I live, it would, should be excluded from the program because you can't be going fast enough to make dust there. So I would even have trouble with the stat about, a ton of dust per year because that may explain the inside of my house, but I don't think that really does. But maybe we offer the subsidy in a different way, right? Maybe we only subsidize it every second or something like that. Like if it has a carryover effect, the catch comes up though. I live on a low traffic road, right? Maybe someone else lives on a really high traffic road. And so every second year is not enough. And maybe it does need it every year, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is we've got something from the past. We don't have to rebuild it exactly that. Like if anything was possible, well, what might we do? And remember that other municipalities like nearby, Barhead, West Lock, they're $700 and $900 to do what we're doing for $200. So we're providing really good value. And maybe there's some room just to amend our pricing too, in a way, that admin could provide us some advice on.
When I was looking after the dust control program, I figured out what it was costing us per spray. And with gravel, equipment, manpower was $900 if we added everything in, right? So that was back a few years ago. Let's look at inflation and everything like that. Roughly, I'm just throwing it through my head. It could be up around $1,100 per spray. And if it is, we're charging $200. And honestly, everybody can pay $200 and they will keep paying and they'll keep paying to get. And that's why we have these extra add-ons, because now they're not paying. They used to pay actual cost when it was $900, but now actual cost of the product is estimated at $400. So that's why you get all these add-ons and stuff like that. So I think we need to possibly look at.
And the number of applicants.
Well, that came up because
at 200.
At $200, all of a sudden, oh, that's peanuts. Let's get this because, and I agree with Jack. It's so cost efficient now for people to buy. People at the end of their roads are buying it, and I have no idea why, but they are, and because it's so cost efficient. With no traffic going by, the stuff lasts forever and all that. So I think we do need to may shoot myself in the foot, but I think we do need to look at actual what we're charging for this application. To put it down to only doing every 2 years, you're really going to penalize the people. Like, let's say somebody on, let's pick on the Pomona Connector. So you'd have to break them roads out and say, okay, for this road, that road, this road, that road, you get it every year. But all these others, well, that's a nightmare.
I just need 3 or 4 more staff.
Yeah.
I could manage all that for you. No.
Yeah, exactly. And I know what you're going through. So I think we need to look at the actual charge of calcium, bring back that list, the actual charge of what we're charging to apply it for the application. And I think that'll chase away the people that are getting all these add-ons. And well, we can do it that way too. But
Well, we have the list. And I can definitely bring that back to the next draft. I even have, it's probably your handwritten list from 1964, but sorry. No. Anyway, any other changes that you'd like, we can definitely bring back.
Councillor Cheeson.
Some of the things that I heard about dust control is people did like the $200 cost because they felt that they didn't get much on my end of the county for the stuff that taxes go for. So like the multiplex and programs here that they would have to come here. So that was some of the things that they appreciated. So sometimes when we raise prices, I know, but let's not forget that too. Some of the county doesn't always get the benefit of their taxes.
They get boiled. So, so go ahead.
I agree. I totally agree, because like you mentioned, there are, Wandering River, you have your Rochester that aren't as close to these central areas, although we do help with recreation in Boyle as well. It's not the exact same, right, as what we see here. And I know people are not expecting an increase on dust control this spring, and we're pretty getting close to looking for applications. So I would struggle raising it this year. Do we look at it? Absolutely. Do we get the information? Absolutely. Do we know so that we're more prepared for that? But I do think that there's definite tweaks that we can make within here that would help a little bit on the current year's cost. And again, like I say, removing the add-on. The 250 meter thing, I'm kind of just knowing how far and how nasty some of that dust travels in the wind. And if you don't have other protection around you, you're kind of stuck out there. I kind of struggle with that one a little bit, but it's something to look at for sure. And then with the RVs, that's kind of tricky because, you sit back and you're looking, okay, it's a seasonal. Seasonal is fine if you're there for the whole season. But if you're there for every other weekend, is that fair? So I don't know how you would even control that for RVs, how you would change the definition to say, except RVs, right? You know what I mean? And then what does that bring? Because who knows if somebody is going to live in their RV for the whole summer? I don't know, right? Like, does that happen, right? And I'm thinking, yes, it does. In some areas, it definitely does. So that one's tricky, but I get where you're coming from because the definition, you couldn't get away from that. You
It's a
couldn't.
subdivision, right? It's subdivided
Yeah.
out. They have their own rural address sign.
Well, that's an issue all by itself, so another topic of being in a subdivision with.
Counselor Stacey.
Oh, you're done? Just wondering if it would work out, if we don't want to change it for this year, could we figure out an actual cost and base a percentage of return on that and then carry that all consistently over the years? Would that work at all?
So you're saying like 30, you're gonna pay 66% and they're gonna pay 33 or
No,
50?
no, I'm just saying that if we, for future use, if we decide that 1,100 is the magic number of cost and we want to achieve 300, well, now we're going to be looking at 28% cost to the applicant.
Yeah, we can do anything.
And then that way we don't have to keep revisiting how much we're going to charge this year or next year, or if we feel sorry one year or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Is that an option?
Oh, there's
revisiting
lots-
it all the time is great too, but it's going to be a 2-hour discussion about, what cost we're going to have. Let's just make something consistent and say, okay, it's going to be 30% of the cost of our costs, 30% right across the board. That's what it costs.
That's easy
That's
for
what I think.
us to do, right? So. Pardon me?
Right. But how did it end up from $600? Where did I write that? Somewhere from $600 down to $400, down to $200, like that sort of moves away from the consistency. I think. Like, how did it drop? Like, what happened?
Council dropped.
See, and so I think in fairness, that way, if we established a percentage, whatever it is, it could be $200, it could be $300. I don't know, but establish something and let's move with it.
I mean, lots of places do that where every year at the end of the year, you figure out what your cost per meter was and you break it down and that's the new rate for next year and you apply whatever percentage council has chosen, whether it's 50 or 30 or 25, whatever. That's easy. That's something that takes a couple minutes at the end of the year to do. So that's not difficult at all.
So when do we send out? Is it in April?
February 28th.
Well, Yeah, it's coming fast, so,
That's why this one's here first.
yeah, because we got an actual cost of what it costed. Can we get an actual?
I already
cost?
know what it
Yeah,
Oh, I asked for the water truck today, but I mean, I know how much we spent on the product. I know how much we spent on gravel. I know how much grader time. I just had to ask for the water truck today.
Pardon me, the gravel you kind of put into the program rather
I
than.
think the gravel should probably be part of a gravel program,
Yeah.
not necessarily dust control.
I agree.
if we're gonna go every 3 years.
Yeah.
Could be, we were every 4 years, so what we would do is we left it in the dust control program just due to the fact that road might not be gravelled every 2 years or something like that. But chances are that road will be gravelled every 3 years, so, yep, no, sounds good to me.
So do you kind of know where, does everybody
So
agree
we
on
have
where we're
the,
going?
Ability to think out of the box a little bit more though with our budget. And we've talked about, setting it as a factor of the cost, which is certainly one method. But it also leaves your budget open to a runaway. We could also just budget a set amount of money and say, we're prepared to spend 500 grand on this in subsidies. And whatever the applications are, they are, and divide it up after. Get their credit card or get it signed or send them a bill.
Send them a bill. Yeah. no, I
Yeah,
don't
no,
think
I think that would be.
We don't, or we can look at it, whatever, I don't know. There's just, I think we can, I think we have to also put some kind of stops on our budget too, because this just can end up being sort of a runaway train on cost.
I'll just put a plug out there real quick. I'd like to see Tower Road done. Just saying, just considering the traffic that's on that particular area. But
Well,
I'll
do
just
we
put it
build
out
a
there.
town for that though? Because that's theirs to maintain.
Only a
It's
mile.
town.
Mile and a half.
That wasn't the question, is do we build a town for the dust control that goes on?
Oh, they apply it in their own area. In their own jurisdiction, they apply it.
What's that?
The dust control on Tower Road, when you come off the highway.
Yeah.
The town does it.
No.
What do you mean, no?
No, we do.
I was informed the town did it.
No, absolutely not. We do
So
it.
do we
would-
charge them?
Because it's our ratepayers on the other side. They'll pay for the stuff on their ratepayers on their side, but right off the highway, we do. Because our ratepayers are there.
So why don't we do the whole thing?
Because it's not a multi-lot subdivision, so. Goes by Rosie's from Rosie's into.
Okay, so I guess we'll take it back. I mean, it was meant to create conversation and it did. I didn't even put any missiles in there for you. But so is there only a couple that are concerned about the 250 setback, or is it something that you want removed?
I struggle with it this year. I do, because if we're that close to accepting applications.
They haven't accepted yet, though.
So, people are used to it, then all of a sudden they get whammed. I don't know how many people that would absolutely impact. I have no idea, right?
Me neither.
None. And so to do it, I would rather give a heads up than slam them with it out of surprise when we're accepting applications at the end of the month, in a month. I would struggle with that. So I would say take it out this year, but consider it with kind of some idea of how many that impact and give people heads up.
I agree. I think it's, February 28th is around the corner if applications are coming out. I mean, I don't think it really affects many in the first place. And I mean, if we're going to communicate things, we need to do better and we need to have time. I think.
But how much time? You give them 2 years notice? Like, we have to get away from deferring all difficult decisions to
Less than a
full
month
year away.
is small.
I would, like I was
Yeah.
saying, if we did it,
Yeah.
it would be effective
I
for
was
next year.
still speaking.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
you asked a
Bernard.
question.
I guess what I'm looking at is we don't want to defer the time on the cost, but now we're going to defer the time on the setback.
we didn't say we were gonna change the cost. We were gonna look I already mentioned, I would hate to change it. People are expecting that $200 dust control this year. I would hate to change it this year. Would I want the information? You bet, so that we can prepare, because it's not gonna change that much between this year and next year for cost. But we need to prepare people, and we need to properly communicate to them. People, this is why people get mad. We need to try and respect that. That's my opinion.
This, it always brings up some very good conversation. So I guess, do you have what you need, Director Morton, in a way?
I've heard bring it back in 2027.
I would like to see it come back with.
You want the list?
The list.
You want the 250 out? We'll come up with something. Well, you know what?
Rotational.
We'll bring something else back for discussion.
Rotational divisions.
Remove the add-ons.
I'm not
No
okay
more
with
add-ons.
add-ons. I think we need to have those. There are exceptions to these things that we have to be able to.
But that will be looked at
full
when this cost comes in. Because when people start understanding that they're gonna have to pay the actual cost
For that add-on.
that may cancel some of these add-ons.
I think
So
it's in.
having the
full cost.
ability to have it though is important, because there may be moments where like the exceptions where it's useful and relevant to.
And I guess I would want to know what that criteria is, that it's relevant and useful.
Well, they're paying, and don't forget, they're paying 100% of that.
Yes.
Of the product.
Of the
Product,
Right?
exactly.
But now
So-
if they're gonna pay 100% of the actual cost, that could be different.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is if somebody came in and wanted to do 800 meters at their cost, 100% at their cost, we're gonna say no.
I guess,
Because we're doing it for Tamarack. Like what if it was Tamarack's office and they wanna, or they have some kind of facility out in the middle of the county and they wanna do the half mile in front of it to keep the dust down, am I saying no? Like, anyway. Don't mean to muddy the waters, but they're not always yes or no, right?
Right, well, and that's the tough part, right? What criteria do we use? What makes it eligible for that? Is it a want or is it a need? There's all those questions. Oh, boy, we're here till like.
Okay, so
maybe
we're
till
gonna,
midnight.
Told you we started with an easy one.
so this is coming back. Don't know when, but it's coming back. And so it's status quo for dust control this year then? Or?
Do we know what the cost is? Like, we've got a budget, but last year our net to the municipality was 70% of the total. So are we expecting a net loss of 694,000 or 487 this year? Because last year we said dust suppression was 549 with a net cost to municipality of 385.
Yeah, that the 694 would include the revenue. So it'll come
we're
down.
almost doubling our loss. In a year when we're trying to tighten our belts on everything.
But we had 389 applicants last year, right? Like, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna have this year. And that's the problem of trying to establish a budget. You forecast for what you think you'll get for applications, but you have no control over how many come in.
Well, okay, so is the policy gonna come back before the end of February or, okay, perfect, then we can beat it to death again. So, I think we better
It'll
take
be
a
here
break.
Thursday.
Right on.
Yay.
So I think we're gonna take a 10-minute break because we need one, and then we're gonna hit closed session.
I would make a motion that we go into closed session.
Right, Counselor Hall?
We don't have 7-3.
Oh, yeah, 7-3.
Would it, like, sir, we, just to keep things moving, we can deal with that when we go into close to take a break?
Yep. 7-3.
I move we accept it for information.
Does everybody know did everybody get did everybody get the email from, that I had forwarded with regards to Pembina zone? They're looking for any items that, we might, as a council, would like to bring forward. Did everybody get that email? Is there anything, I guess, it was just to check with council to see how council feels. If there's anything, because this, of course, is the meeting prior to the RMA for any resolutions.
Or do you want to think about it and talk about it on the 29th?
We could absolutely do that too, just to
If
make
there was
sure.
anything that council wanted to bring up, bring it to the meeting on the 29th and then we can.
Yeah.
Because I think it's
Give
got
you
to,
some time to think, right? Yeah, so being we have really no action, I don't know if we need a motion.
Yeah.
Unless. Does anybody need a motion that we discuss this on the 29th, or we're just gonna be happy that we're gonna do that? There you go, then it's clear.
recommend the council we discuss this on the 29th. Bring your ideas forward, please.
There you go.
And Councillor Hall has made a motion to go into closed. All in favor? Motion passed, and we're gonna be taking a 10-minute break. So it's, and please be here at about 2:57.